Get nasty on a Wednesday. It's a Fast Lane on 101 ESPN. Dan McLaughlin filling in today for Jamie Rivers, my guy, Danny Mac. What's up, Dan? How are you?
I'm doing well. How about yourself?
Doing good. So you and I are so woefully underprepared. The YouTube channel right now is like, these guys are really just putting in their
Oh, that doesn't mean you're unprepared.
Not
or
unprepared for the show, yeah. Just ill-prepared, I guess, for the start of the show.
Well, the meeting we had in the sports office was extensive.
Yeah.
It was about 3 hours. We went back and forth with Marshy about topics and what we need to hit, break down that third line of the Blues, maybe get into the second string of the offensive line of the Browns.
Somewhere, yeah.
I'm ready.
I would like to get into every backup offensive line situation in the NFL at some point throughout the course of the show. Dan.
You're such a nerd, though. You probably know it. That's the problem.
I do love that
You're
stuff.
You're a football nerd, and I mean that with all due respect.
I totally get that, and we'll talk plenty of golf because I know you're a golf nerd.
I am,
and I mean that with all due respect.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, that's an endearment, right?
Yes, it is.
It's an endearing comment.
It's a very endearing comment. Do you have to switch up the show when I'm in, or BT's in, or Jamie's in, or what's your preparation like? You're handing it off, man. You're Johnny Manziel.
Yeah, well,
except he didn't hand it off very often.
No, he just ran, right? He just ran or threw it up to Mike Evans.
Exactly.
You guys had watched that Johnny Manziel documentary on Netflix, and both of you raved about it. And now all I want to do is make up some excuse of why I can't do the show, so I can go watch this now. You and Marsh completely sold me on this.
What do you think, Marshy?
I thought it was great, Anthony. You can pull a Johnny Manziel and tell your parents that might need you to stay at a hospital or something so you can pass a drug test.
He was referencing that. My parent. I'm excited to watch all the behind the scenes because I know a little bit about.
Yeah.
I feel like I know. I felt like I knew a lot about Manziel, but with what you guys are telling me, I had no idea.
One of the interesting things that I took from it, that's why I brought up Manziel, because it was on my mind, and I watched it at like 3 a.m. last night. I couldn't sleep, so I'd flip on Netflix, and there it is, Untold. And so, I don't know, Marshy, if you picked up on this, but what was interesting to me was that I thought he came from a very wealthy family.
Yeah.
And so,
same.
And that's not necessarily the case. Now, I'm not talking that he grew up on the streets, but I mean, I thought it was like, oil money or something, and they made a ton of money. It was his buddy that said, you need to come up with an excuse as to why you're making all that money from signing and memorabilia and all that stuff. And he said, let's just say that your parents are well off and that's where you get the money.
Yeah.
So he got upset because Texas A&M was building a new stadium. They were putting up new dormitories. I mean, everything is off the shelf is number 2. So he's like, why am I not getting any of that? He was a little ahead of name, image, and likeness. And so then he went and got his money. And then the NCAA was coming down on that. And his buddy said, who was kind of his quote-unquote business manager at the time, they were like childhood friends. And he said, just say that your parents are wealthy and that's where you get the money. And that's what they did. That was the excuse. And that's why it got out to the general public that, this is just some rich kid and he's spoiled and all that stuff. Well, he may have been spoiled, but he didn't come from oil money, at least not to my knowledge.
Sure.
It was really good, though. It was fascinating.
A lot of interesting things that you didn't necessarily know. I think a lot of people knew a lot about Johnny Manziel, but there's a lot of just small details that I think the general public did not know about him. But yeah, I thought the craziest thing was them making up a complete lie about where his family's wealth came from. And if you go on Google, you could probably still find that it says like, his family has X amount of millions of dollars in the oil industry and whatnot. But yeah, I found it to be very interesting. I also watched Hard Knocks last night as well with Aaron Rodgers. I'm sure you'll end up tuning into that, Anthony. But yeah, the Johnny Manziel thing, it was definitely interesting. I thought watching back and watching the Alabama game, it really changed his life.
Yeah, it did. Alabama game was just fantastic. And he said there was 2 of the best throws of his life, which was on the final drive. One was down the right sideline. The other one, I think, was over the middle, maybe to Mike Evans. I can't remember, which should be a part of the story, is that he had one hell of a receiver that turned out to be a hell of a pro.
No doubt.
To go to. But still, the escapability that he had, the fact that he kind of burst onto the scene as an undersized guy, and no one really recruited him. He wanted to go to Texas. He winds up at Texas A&M, and then he goes and becomes the first freshman to ever win the Heisman. And his life became a whirlwind after that. I mean, just so much pressure and people tugging at him and all that stuff. So it's pretty good.
He also exposed Alabama and Nick Saban's defense. The Nick Saban had Nick Saban's calling card is the secondary. That's what he coaches.
Exactly.
And his secondary kind of got exposed because of some of the non-athleticism within the front seven. So when he faced mobile quarterbacks, and he still has this issue to this day. I mean, Hendon Hooker got him a year ago. When he faces mobile quarterbacks, they tend to give him a lot of issues, and it kind of stemmed from Johnny Manziel. He figured in the SEC, got a lot of pocket passers, we'll be fine. Then this kid's out there running around, and all of the discipline, because he's got a very disciplined defense, all the disciplined aspects about his defense are basically thrown back in his face.
Sure.
Because Johnny Manziel just played backyard football.
Did you think Manziel would be a decent pro?
No.
I didn't really either.
Well, I mean, if you watch the documentary, we'll never know. We'll never know because he's just self-sabotaged his entire career.
Yeah.
But still, with his size and at times if you need to be just a passer and if you scramble against the athletes that the NFL throws at you, I don't think you're going to make it. Now, there's some, Michael Vick did.
Yeah.
I mean, there's the outlier, I guess you could look at, but what was also interesting is that his agent was great in this and how he prepared him and how he got him to move up in the draft.
Yeah.
And his agent had been preparing him and saying, you are not a first-round pick. Just understand you're not going to be a first-round pick. You're going to sign for plenty of money, but the endorsement deals are going to come flying in. So are we a businessman? Is that what we are here, or are we a QB? And he's like, well, a little bit of both, whatever. And he made a ton of money, though. It was cool. I just enjoy any of those behind-the-scene things like that are well done. They're fun to watch.
I think there was one thing that really stood out to me, and me and Tanner were just talking about it as we were walking in and he was walking out, but how many people basically succeeded because of Johnny Manziel. You look at Cliff Kingsbury, who was the offensive coordinator at the time. He ended up getting a job at Texas Tech and then, of course, became the Arizona Cardinals head coach.
Kevin Sumlin was his head coach, cashed in, won a big deal. Really, it was the athletic department at Texas A&M that 100%. Cashed in all over the place. They moved to the SEC. That was his first year. And they literally show the stadium being blown up as they build a new section of the stadium for Texas A&M. It's
remarkable.
I remember doing football games for Mizzou, and we talked about at halftime, we had somebody of an administrator came on, and we're talking off the air, and I said, what does it mean? This is off the air. I said, what does it mean that Gary Pinkel has had this kind of success? He said, well, we get a free commercial every Saturday night or Saturday afternoon. We're on national television. Our enrollment has gone up by, ridiculous amount of percentage. Yeah. And he said, no matter where you go on campus, there's a new building going up. He said that's directly related to Gary Pinkel and what's happening with the football program. And that's why
it's
when
great
you
to recognize that.
It was great that he did. And he was an academic guy. And he said, we have a laboratory right now that we've been trying to get up and erected, and we haven't been able to do that until the football program took off. And so when you talk about paying players, I always go back to that conversation of what does Nick Saban mean for Alabama, the state, the university, the non-athlete. He's incredibly important because of all the money that he's bringing. He's underpaid. If you look at what they're bringing into that university, he's probably underpaid.
Sure.
Now, that sounds crazy to say that, but it's the truth.
Yeah.
These guys bring in big bucks.
Yeah, and a lot of times, especially in college basketball, it is really about the coach because you got these players coming in and out. But in college football, I think that applies too.
Yeah.
Look at Dabo Swinney at Clemson, or Brian Kelly now at LSU. I mean, if LSU has some success, and Brian Kelly has succeeded everywhere he has gone. He succeeded at Cincinnati. He succeeded at 1 year at my alma mater, which was Central Michigan. He succeeded at Notre Dame, obviously, and then now he goes to LSU.
Turned into a villain, didn't he, when he went to LSU?
He totally did. And what's interesting too,
he
though,
changed his voice.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, he kind of became a character. Yeah, it's like what? You're right. From here. But with Brian Kelly, the thing, he was one of the more not that he was underpaid, but in comparison to other top coaches around the nation, he was underpaid at Notre Dame, and he was there a long time.
And took him to a national championship.
Absolutely. So there was Brian Kelly had a lot of success at Notre Dame, and I understand that, he left kind of cloak and dagger, what head coach doesn't. Saban did the same thing.
Yep.
Even talking about I am not going to the Dolphins, and then, wound up going to the Dolphins.
Yeah.
Then I'm not going to Alabama, winds up at Alabama. So these guys do a kind of cloak and dagger, but what to your earlier point, Dan, about what these guys do for that university, I mean, it's
the growth is exponential.
Absolutely.
Off of that.
I do find it interesting to see just how much one single figure can make such an impact, whether that's a player, you guys are mentioning coaches, not only at the college level, but just at any sport, at the in the pros too. And we're talking about the Cardinals. The past few weeks, should they trade Paul Goldschmidt? Should they trade Nolan Arenado? If you get rid of any of those guys or both of them, what does this team become then? Like, I feel like everyone gets behind one singular person. We were talking about LSU. You had Coach O there for a while, and you had Joe Burrow, right? You have all these guys that bring in that money, and I think you can tie that even to the conversation that's happening now with college football in terms of switching conferences. Dan, you mentioned how good it is for the university. This is huge for these universities.
I will say this, though, when it comes to Johnny Manziel, what happened when Johnny Manziel gets to Cleveland? He doesn't win. There goes all the Johnny football stuff.
I love the Johnny money.
The Johnny money stuff. The Cardinals. I don't know if people love their superstars. People love their superstars when they win,
for sure.
And I think whatever the team is, if it's winning, the fan base will kind of adopt that identity. So if it is a star, like the Yankees, for example, the Yankees won, star-studded players, right? The Yankee fans want stars. I think here in St. Louis, we can say, sometimes it's boring, but when they're winning, it's still kind of a boring team, but it's a lunch pail team. So you just change it ever so slightly. But the key there is you got to win. You bring up Coach O and Ed Orgeron. Ed Orgeron won. He had one of the best college football teams in college football history.
Yeah.
And then 2 years later, he was out. Why? Because he didn't recruit. He really didn't recruit as well.
Well, you got to have the Jimmies and the Joes. Don't worry about the X's and the O's, right?
Well, there you go. Right. It fell apart on him, and now he's nowhere to be seen. So you got to win.
To Marsh's point, I think what's happening in college football is inevitable. Yeah. When you think about the television money that is running around there, and the fact that you can double it, triple it, whatever the case may be. So what? I mean, they're going to do it, and they're going to say, well, the soccer team's got to travel commercially and go across. Okay. Well, the baseball team, okay.
Yeah.
Well, football is going to make us about $200 million, whatever it is. Mm-hmm. Oh, all right. Yeah, we'll figure it out.
Right.
No problem.
Where do I sign now?
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay. No problem.
Man, I'm going to miss the Rose. Okay. No problem. Yeah. I'm good. See ya.
Tradition.
That's out the window, man. Yeah. No one cares.
Dan McLaughlin, Anthony Stalter. It's the Fast Lane on 101 ESPN. Danny Mac filling in for Jamie Rivers today. Last night, Miles Michaelis was pulled from a game against the Rays that he probably should have been left in. Should the Cardinals move away from what we have seen with the modern day pitching, and not just starting pitchers, but the bullpen as well? We'll get into that next on 101 ESPN. So the Cardinals fell to the Tampa Bay Rays last night at Tropicana Field. Miles Mikolas pitched very well in that start last night. No offense, unfortunately, for the Cardinals outside of a Nolan Arenado home run in the top of the second and then a Wilson Contreras home run to center in the ninth. And Wilson Contreras hit a home run, and I think like 5 minutes later, his brother William from Milwaukee hit a home run. So that was kind of a cool moment at the time. But again, no offense for the Cardinals last night. They struggled. They lose 4-2. Dan McLaughlin, Anthony Stalter's Fast Line on 101 ESPN. So, Dan, 7 innings for Miles Mikolas last night, 8 hits, 2 runs, 5 Ks. Kind of reminiscent of the start he had a year ago at Tropicana Field, where he pitched very well and gave up a home run to G-Man Choi, and that kind of wound up being the difference. So he hasn't had a lot of luck when it comes to pitching in Tampa, even though he's pitched well. But the scenario last night is he was at 80 pitches. So he throws 80. He's in the 7th inning, and the Cardinals make, Ali Marmol and his coaching staff decide pull him out of the game. Andre Palante comes in. And in his less than an inning, only a third of an inning, he allows 4 hits, 2 runs, both earned. And before you know it, the Rays take the lead in they tie it in the 7th and then add 3 in the 8th. So you got a situation last night, Dan, where Miles Mikolas had been pitching well, and they decide to pull him. This is nothing new to baseball. This is not a Miles Mikolas thing. This is not a Cardinals thing. This is they don't want pitchers to face a lineup 3 times in a row because they feel like, and the statistics will bear this out.
Ask Kevin Cash.
There you go.
Crossing the other dugout.
Right.
Yeah.
That eventually the other team, especially 3 times through the order, they're going to get to my starter. And the game of baseball has become specialized. I've heard you talk about this a lot.
I can't stand it,
right.
But it is what it is. Yes.
So here's the question.
Yeah.
If the Cardinals are going to turn things around, they're going to retool quickly. They're going to add some starters. Whoever starters that are, separate conversation. But do they need to have a different philosophy when it comes to handling not only the starter, in this case Mikolas, but also the bullpen, and not assume that they can do the whole specialized bullpen thing?
I think it's, first of all, it has to go with personnel and who you have in that bullpen. Now, I wouldn't trust that bullpen right now.
Right.
And maybe part of the decision was, first of all, the decision was made on analytics. I guarantee you that. Not an eye test, even though I disagree with that. I think you do go with an eye test. I think you watch how a guy is throwing, but they have the numbers there readily available, spin rates, velocity, where the ball is going, all that stuff as the game is going along. And so they can kind of make sure that they nip that in the bud and say, okay, we're not going to let this guy get that far because these things are trending in the wrong direction. So I understand it. I don't like it because to me, it's an eye test and it's a veteran. And I'm saying, what do I have to lose anyway? Right? I'm just going to throw him out there. We need a win. Let's go give him the best chance to do it. Plus, do we really want to turn this over to a bullpen when he has a chance to win it? Keep it in his hands. Mm-hmm. He can either win it or he can lose it. Another thing to think about, too, going down the stretch, and I'll be really interested how they do this with their pen, is you may have situations that pop up like that, and you may wonder, why is this guy coming in? Why is Joe coming in? Why is Steve coming in? Why is that guy coming in? And it might be to find out about Joe and Steve and the other guy. Put them in uncomfortable spots and see what you have.
Yeah.
Because really, you're not really. You are playing for next year. Mm-hmm. And guys are playing for spots. Don't think for a second that this start tonight isn't important for Dakota Hudson. Matthew Liberatore will go tomorrow. It's an important start for him. These guys have to show something to give the club some reason to say either you're a starter or you're a AAA or you're in my bullpen.
Right.
So I'm trying to just kind of throw it out on the table as all these different scenarios I think that we're seeing. But the ultimate one, to your point, is the philosophy in baseball. And again, you're asking me about it. I don't like it.
Yeah.
I go eye test a lot. I use the information I have.
There you go.
Okay.
Right.
But then I still have to go eye test. I still have to go to Contreras or Kisner and say, I need an honest evaluation of what you're seeing right now. Mm-hmm. I want it honest. Yachty was blunt. Keep him in. Okay, we're keeping him in. Take him out. All right, he's coming out. And I'm not saying Yachty is the end-all, be-all, and he should have been managing the club and the pitching. I'm not saying that. Yeah. But I want input from my pitching coach, my catcher, and an honest evaluation from my pitcher. Now, when you go out there to the pitcher, what are they going to say 9 times out of 10? I'm fine.
Yeah.
Keep me in. But to your point of what the philosophy is, I wish it was just a mixture of both and it wasn't just so cut and dry that, okay, we got to 80 pitches, you're this time in the lineup, and now we're going to take the guy out. I just don't like that.
Dan, you and I are in lockstep when it comes to that line of thinking. I couldn't agree more. Analytics are not the devil. Analytics are not, they're not ruining the game. I think there's this narrative that analytics are ruining the game. I think it's just kind of short-sighted. All analytics are, it's information. It's information that you have, as you noted, throughout a course of a game or pregame, that whether it's percentages or information that's telling you how a pitcher is faring, how certain pitches are faring throughout a game. Great, it's information. It comes down to the decision making. I can give you a pamphlet of stuff and say, hey, make a decision. You ultimately might be wrong at that decision. You might be right, but you're using the information that is at your disposal.
That's right.
In other words, I don't think analytics are good or bad. I think analytics are just that. It's information. When I look at Miles Michaelis in the 7th or in the bottom of the 6th, he allows 2 singles right away. Then he gets the double play, and then he strikes out Brandon Lau. He is in a spot where Dave Duncan would call a stressful inning, though. That's a stressful inning. Dave Duncan, as you know.
Runners on, stressful inning.
Exactly. You know more than anybody, observing Dave Duncan throughout his entire career as the pitching coach here in St. Louis, this is somebody that highly believed in analytics, highly believed in his research before and in a game. But ultimately, when he watched a pitcher, how much stress is that pitcher under when he is in the middle of an inning?
Also, just to say this too, we don't know this. We're not in that dugout. He could have felt stress in the 2nd inning. Right. Could have happened in the 3rd. Could happen in the 1st. Those are things that get kind of lost in this too, because you say, well, now I'm in the 7th.
Yeah.
And he's thrown 80 pitches. I'm keeping him out there. Okay, but there also might be a situation where he ran into trouble in the 1st, in the 2nd, in the 3rd, and you're playing with house money a little bit because the guy's on fumes. And there is a difference in pitching with nobody on or 1st and 3rd, 1 out. Mm-hmm. There just is. It's high stress.
Yes.
And so those kind of things factor into this as well.
Certainly. Now, this is just Michaelis, where I do agree with some of the median fans where they say analytics are ruining the game. I think when teams when they're predetermined to say...
Yes, predetermined in the 1st inning or whatever.
We know we're going to line it up this way tonight. 7, 8, 9, this is how it's going to go. Or 6, 7, 8, 9, that's how it's going to go. And that's it. I want this reliever for this guy and throwing out the feel for the game. That is where I can side with the analytics or bad people crowd and say, yeah, there's too many teams that rely solely on the information to make their decisions for them. It's numbers on a paper. I think that they should be a part of the decision making. I don't think they should determine your decision.
Yeah, 3rd time through a lineup is always something that you hear about. You always hear about stressful innings, and I believe in those.
Yeah.
But how do you say that Zach Thompson is going to go out and give you 8 strikeouts? Now, let's say he was fully built up, and now he's in his 3rd time through the lineup, and who knows how many strikeouts he'd have by then? Who knows where his pitch count would be at that point, because strikeouts usually build up your pitch count.
Yeah.
But you're going to tell me in that day, when he's dealing, well, got to take him out. We're at 80 pitches. Of course you wouldn't.
Good roll.
Just let it roll, man. I also think it's something. Michaelis is a separate issue because he's a veteran, but I also think it's something to find out more about your young players, pitchers. You're not in a pennant race. You're trying to find out more about them. And what do you call them?
The Huevos Rancheros?
Yeah, those things. I want to know a little bit more about that.
Yeah.
When stuff is on the line, what's my guy doing?
Right.
Is he peeking into the dugout, kind of going, come on, get me? Is he starting to slow down a lot, as much as you can in today's game?
Is he impacted by looking at the bullpen and seeing that the bullpen's fired up? Yeah.
I don't want to see that stuff. I want to know my guy wants it, and we're keeping him in there.
Definitely.
And at this point, if you're Ollie, you should go outside, in my opinion. You go outside the box with some of your moves. Why not put Jordan Walker hitting leadoff? Put him in left. Put him in center. Put him in right. I don't care.
Right.
Put Nolan Gorman against lefties nonstop. Now, there's the integrity of the game. because some of these teams are going to be in the playoff race that you're going to face. But I got to do what's best for me and trying to find out more about my young players and my young pitchers. And that's something I think down the stretch you're going to see more of, especially, I bet, when we get to September.
Yeah, if the Oakland A's can field a minor league team for an entire season, you can bat Jordan Walker first a couple of times.
And I'm not. I just threw that out of.
But I think it's a great point nonetheless.
Why not?
You might as well figure out what you have. The only benefit to losing season, one, we just saw at the trade deadline, you can unload expiring contracts and not have to worry about anything but just getting the best value.
Sure.
And two, like you're talking about, Dan, in August and September, experiment.
Yeah, I roll out different guys, maybe do some bullpen games just to get more innings for guys, just to get them a look, see what they look like, get multiple innings. I've got no problem with that. And I think that's something that you owe it to your organization to do that. Also, put people in uncomfortable spots. Mm-hmm. Put a guy out there when the game is on the line. And for 4 or 5 months, you would never do this. You'd bring in Gallegos or whatever. Bring in somebody else.
Right.
Game on the line. Let's see what we got.
Let's see what you got.
Yeah.
Let's see. Let's check in on your huevos rancheros.
Thank you very much.
That's
I
Dan
didn't want to say
McLaughlin.
the other stuff. I'd be off the air.
That's Dan McLaughlin. I'm Anthony Stalter. It's the Fast Lane on 101 ESPN. Speaking of the lineup, we got the lineup is out, so we'll play the lineup game next. Anthony Stalter and my guy Jamie Rivers back for Mentality. I'll tell you what, when Jamie Rivers started to visit Mentality consistently, he started to tell me about the way he was feeling. He's like, man, you gotta get down there. He had felt that he was run down constantly with, a couple of different jobs. Jamie, of course, does a great job, not only here at 101, but he's got the various, TV jobs, and he's got his own companies. He was going constantly, and he was worn down. He was, he wasn't feeling like himself. And then all of a sudden, over the course of a couple of months, man, he felt like he could take on even more responsibility. So I took his lead on it. I went down to Mentality with him, and I talked to their certified professionals about how I was feeling. And look, there's no shame in it. If you do feel like you're run down, if you do feel a little down, depressed, whatever it may be, and you're a little bit older, whether you're in your 40s like I am, or your 50s or 60s, whatever it may be, but you feel like there's more to unlock, but for whatever reason you just can't do it. I'm telling you, Jamie's telling you, Mentality's fantastic. They got 2 locations, West County and South County. They do a great job of giving you a complete profile on what's going on. If you do suffer from low testosterone or you're deficient in any sort of vitamins, they're going to tell you, and they're going to tell you a way to get back on track. They're fantastic. So go visit them or check them out online at lowtstl.com.
101 ESPN Sports Center.
I'm Andrew Marsh. It's time for a Sports Center update driven by Johnny Londoff Chevrolet and Johnny Londoff Autoplex. The Cards lose to the Tampa Bay Rays last night by a final score of 4-2. They'll be back in action tonight as Dakota Hudson takes the mound for the Redbirds, going up against Jalen Beeks. 5:40 first pitch. If you want to know what the lineup is, stay tuned. We have the lineup game coming up next right here in the Fast Lane. I'm Andrew Marsh, and the Sports Center update is driven by Johnny Londoff. Find new roads and shop 24/7 at londoff.com and londoffautoplex.com. Are you kidding me?
Dan McLaughlin, I'm Anthony Stalter. Danny Mac filling in today for Jamie Rivers, and we've got baseball tonight between the Cardinals and Rays. The second game of the series, 5:40 local time, will be the first pitch tonight. So we got an early edition of the lineup game again. Dakota Hudson starting for the Cardinals, coming off a very impressive start for Dak last weekend against Jalen Beeks, who is a left-hander, for the Rays. But it's going to be, from my understanding, Dan, it's going to be a bullpen game of sorts for the Rays.
Well, if it's a bullpen game, then you may have a different looking lineup because you want to stagger left, right, potentially. So we'll see what it all comes about with the lineup game.
You ready?
Yeah, I'm ready.
Okay.
I am more than ready.
So even though the lefty is on the hill, again, I don't think Jalen Beeks is stretched out enough to pitch deep into this game.
You can see like 5 or 6 different guys.
Right.
Uh-huh.
I still think it's Newt at the top.
I will go with Lars Nootbaar as well. Give me Newt.
Please, Andrew Marsh, show us that Newt.
1, 2, 3, 4. I'm grinding.
Wait a minute. When did he change these up?
We got more creative, even more creative.
I
Dan.
like that. That made me laugh.
That's probably my
That's
favorite.
good stuff, Marshy.
That's probably my favorite one.
So,
Marsh put together.
Play that again, Marshy.
Since Dan's here.
1, 2, 3, 4. I'm grinding.
So,
Play a new bar, please.
1, 2, 3, 4. I'm grinding.
That's awesome.
we have here in the Fast Lane, if you don't hit, you don't get a sounder. But since Dan hasn't heard a lot of these sounders,
I think we got to play the sounders.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Thanks, guys. Thank you, Marshy.
We gotcha.
All right, Dan, any issues with Paul Goldschmidt in this spot?
No, Goldie hitting second.
Show us Paul Goldschmidt.
Gold! Rich with gold! Gold!
So Jamie informed me. I didn't know that guy's name. I remember that. I know the claymation. You know, around Christmas time,
Yeah.
they got like the claymation Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, right?
Yeah.
I didn't know that guy's name was Yukon Cornelius.
Yes.
And I think that is the most incredible name.
You didn't know that?
I didn't know that was his name.
It would not have rolled off my tongue, but hearing it again, it's like, oh yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
I've got 2 boys. Dan, you've got 2 boys.
Yep.
I am disappointed that I didn't realize that Yukon Cornelius was a name I could have potentially gone with. I don't think Chris and my wife would have liked that, but Yukon Cornelius Stalter, I think, would be just that's tough. That's tough to deal with.
You think that would have been okay or not?
I don't think it would have been okay. No, I don't think it would have been voted on.
It would have been a tough road for your son.
I don't know. Yukon?
You got to be a bad dude to be Yukon.
Basically, what I'm doing is getting him in with like UFC fighters immediately.
100%.
Yeah.
He's in the octagon.
Yes.
Pillow fighters.
Either way. Yeah, either way. All right, anyways. Okay, so we got Newt, we got Goldie. Who's hitting third?
What do you got? I'm going to follow your lead on this stuff.
Typically, it's been Gorman.
Yep.
And
lefty on the mound, though, they may drop him a little bit.
Lefty on the mound, but they didn't drop Newt. Although, what other spots do you have what other candidates do you have for leadoff, I guess, with Donovan out?
You could have done
Edmund.
Tommy is what I was thinking. You get a switch hitter up there, which then doesn't pigeonhole you as much. But I
still think it's Gorman. I think he's going with his typical lineup with it being a bullpen game.
All right, Nolan Gorman.
All right, show us Nolan Gorman, please.
Sorry, guys.
See, that's how I was
you get your
thinking.
Janet, though.
Yeah, it did get Janet.
Okay, so this could be
lefty, maybe move him down. I don't know.
This could be Contreras. This could be Arenado. It's probably only Card.
I would do Arenado, personally.
I think we go with Arenado then. Please show us Nolan Arenado.
Nolan is a security guard at the lumber yard.
Good call, Dan.
Where's that from?
That was, you had said that yesterday, Marsh. That is from
Big Mama's
Big
house.
Mama's
I haven't
house.
seen that house.
Yeah, I haven't either.
Or the movie.
Either way, I haven't seen it either. So apparently that's where it's from. All right, cleanup hitter today.
Bar, Goldie, Arenado, Contreras.
Contreras.
Yeah.
Show us Wilson Contreras, please.
You are so wrong.
All right, Janet.
Janet. Normally, Janet is so kind.
She can be. She loves
Especially
you, Dan.
towards you. Well, she does.
She loves you. She loves Jamie.
We have a special bond.
You really do.
Might be our displeasure at you every once in a while.
Probably. Yeah. That's what Jamie and her
Is that right? They
come together on. Yeah.
They come
Yeah.
together with
They
that.
come together.
That's quite
Their
a
hatred.
It's quite a
of me.
combo.
Yeah, it certainly is, Dan. Janet's outstanding.
Cleanup hitter, please.
See, I like to think that while I love Janet, I respect her enough to tell her when I think she's wrong.
Is that right?
And I like to feel like Janet respects me enough to tell me when I'm being an asshat. You know?
I still want the shirt.
What shirt is that?
Do you remember we're going to get a
with
picture
her
of her?
face on it.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
right. Yeah, with some with the sayings on the back,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Yes, I remember now.
Like
Go to
this
charity.
Anthony, who cares what you think?
Thank you, Janet.
my favorite.
That's probably number one on the list
Yeah.
of top 10.
That's the one that's going to probably sell out the most.
You got to watch the games, Anthony.
Anthony, you don't watch the game. All right, who's hitting cleanup? If it's not Contreras,
Let's see. Tyler O'Neill. Is he back in there?
probably.
Let's try it. Tyler O'Neill.
I'll be honest. I'm a little lost here on this.
Yeah, I am too.
Show us Tyler O'Neill, please.
You're wrong.
Yeah, I didn't think so either. I just threw out a name.
Jordan Walker.
There you go. Jordan Walker.
Show us Jordan Walker, please.
You're
What a
wrong,
shame.
Anthony. Yeah, it is.
Is it Gorman? And he just flipped them for no reason?
Nolan Gorman, please.
There's a storm coming, Ari.
Okay. Dan, we are not off to a good start.
No.
All right, this
I
is
actually had
Contreras. You were good the first three.
I had some reasoning behind it. Now I just threw it out the window.
Yeah. Now you're just naming names. You're just going
I'm
down the roster.
So locked into this lineup.
There's a lot to get locked in about.
Really am.
Is this Contreras? This is Contreras.
It's got to be.
Show us Wilson Contreras, please.
This one goes out to all the big willies.
Wilson, are you naked?
No, Tim, I'm wearing a hat.
You know that reference.
Give me Contreras, please.
This one goes out to all the big willies.
Wilson,
I
are
don't know
you
what that is.
naked?
No, Tim, I'm wearing a hat.
Hold on. What's the beginning part from?
I have no idea.
I don't know either.
Okay.
Bradford found that.
All right.
Bradford, our guy Bradford
Yeah.
Bruns found that cut.
Bradford,
you know,
line 5, please.
you know what the second reference is though.
Go ahead.
Tim Allen, Home Improvement.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Because Wilson,
Yeah,
Wilson,
yeah,
we
yeah.
couldn't see his.
I was a little
face?
off. Yes.
Yeah.
I was actually thinking something different. Whatever. I digress.
You heard it now though.
Yes.
In your noggin.
It is.
All right, 6. That's where we're at. We got Newt, Goldie, Arenado, Gorman, Contreras. This could be O'Neill. If he's back in the lineup, this could be O'Neill.
Yeah, this is O'Neill. I'm putting it down in pen right now.
I'm going to do
be
so
back
too.
in there.
I feel confident.
Give me O'Neill.
Show
My
us.
fingers hurt.
Oh, well, now your back's gonna hurt because you just pulled landscaping duty.
Wait a minute.
It's one of our more. It's one of our more snarky ones.
That has nothing to do with his name or O'Neill, or
No.
it has maybe something to reference a sore back.
Correct.
Got it.
Yeah.
Got it. Okay, there he is, batting 6th. Go ahead and play that again, please.
We go for entertainment here, Dan.
Yeah, I can tell.
Even when it's not funny.
My fingers hurt.
Somewhat hurtful.
Well, now your back's gonna hurt because you just pulled landscaping duty.
That's terrible. That's, you know what? Uncalled for.
Is it?
Not really.
All right.
Good to see he's back in there, though.
Yeah.
What was it last night? Left knee?
It was.
Right knee? Elbow?
I think it was a left knee.
Hangnail? What do we got?
Now you're getting it.
No, I know where you're going with this. And
Now you're-
I
Dan-
didn't know why he's not in the lineup. I was just
Dan?
trying to get a full Now disclosure from you because you guys are locked in.
Left knee tightness.
Yeah, left. It was
Left knee tightness.
That knee was
Okay.
tight, Dan. So he needed a full day off.
I get it.
So
I get it.
7th. This I would imagine would be Jordan Walker.
Yes, Jordan Walker.
Let's walk it like it's hot, Marsh.
What the H is wrong with you guys?
Oh my.
Ookie.
Let's see. New bars in center.
Yeah, I was just about doing this.
Okay, O'Neill in left.
O'Neill.
No Walker there, so Walker's going to bat 8th. Where is Tommy Edman? He's batting 9th. Who are we missing?
Well, we're missing a DH, so this could be Burleson.
Ooh, Burley. Yep. Give me Burleson, please.
Show us Alec Burleson.
Some lefty on lefty magic from a guy like Nolan Gorman who's hitting near you in the lineup.
What?
Poor Alexa dad. She's like, I thought that was a pretty easy comment.
So we got Newt, Goldie, Arenado, Gorman, Contreras, O'Neill, Burley,
This is
and
Walker.
now Jordan Walker.
Jordan Walker, please.
Walk it like it's hot. Walk it like it's hot.
And then Tommy Edman.
Tommy Boy.
Show us Tommy Boy.
Tommy likey. Tommy want wingy.
There we go.
I don't know why it's so stupid, but it makes me laugh. It does.
Helen, your name? I'll tell you why I suck as a salesman. All right, run it, Marsh.
All right. Well, Dan mentioned the lefty, righty. So let's go over this lineup. Leading off in center field, the left-handed Lars Nootbaar. Batting second, the DH, right-handed hitter, Paul Goldschmidt.
That's why I thought they'd do this, stagger a little bit. That's why I thought it could be a little different, Anthony, and it sure is.
You were right.
Man.
They do change it up here. Batting third baseman, right-handed hitter, Nolan Arenado.
All right.
Batting fourth, second baseman, Nolan Gorman.
Okay.
Batting fifth, the catcher Wilson Contreras.
Yeah.
Batting sixth in left field, Tyler O'Neill. Batting seventh, first baseman, Alec Burleson. Batting eighth in right field, Jordan Walker. And batting ninth, the switch hitter, the shortstop, Tommy Edman.
I don't believe what I just saw. Home run.
Okay, so, Marsh, can you please update us on those standings?
Yeah.
I want to hear it today.
Anthony, you are gaining ground. I believe you had 5. You won yesterday with Nolan Arenado hitting a home run. So you're now at 6. You're right behind Jamie, who I believe is at 7. I'm still at 2, which is still less than what Dan has, who's at 3.
Wow, Dan filling in every so often.
Yeah.
He's got himself 3 Ding-Dong Johnsons.
Okay.
In fairness to everybody, I did take Tyler O'Neill as my home run call. But
That
then
one
he was
hurt.
scratched.
So to speak.
So to speak. You got the tight left knee.
Tight left knee.
But it worked out because then I switched to Nolan Arenado, and he had a home run there in the first, so that worked.
So
Dan,
it was beneficial for
it
you.
certainly was.
Okay.
Dan,
Yeah.
who do you got?
I'm going Goldie. Been quiet in the second half. He's off his feet tonight, maybe doing a little extra cage work because he's the designated hitter. So I'm going Goldie.
Okay. Marsh.
Well, I'm looking at the matchups, Anthony, and nobody has any numbers against this Jalen Beeks character. But I'm going to go with Nolan Arenado to hit a home run again tonight.
Down here for the club, but he's a gamer, man. He's there every night. He's a gamer.
I'm going to go with my pick from yesterday. I'm going to go with Tyler O'Neill.
Okay, I like that too.
Now that left knee is not tight, I'm going to go with Tyler O'Neill.
Just lets it fly.
He's
now
gonna
that
let
the
it fly.
soreness is out,
Absolutely.
just let it rip.
Yep. So there you have it. Dan has got Paul Goldschmidt. Marsh took Nolan Arenado, and I took Tyler O'Neill for the home run derby. We got Beat the Streak coming up a little bit later on in the show.
Why do you guys go, no?
Well, so that's a really good question. When our guy Brad Thompson was full-time here, Brad liked to set up certain segments, right?
Oh,
like he
yeah.
would,
I remember that.
Yeah, he'd like to set up some things. So
Yeah.
he had told me in the office beforehand, he goes, I got these numbers, and you guys guess something else, but then it's going to be the real answer is going to be Nolan Arenado. And I told BT, I go, I will play along with this. I don't like setting anything up. I think it should be organic.
Live.
Yeah, I think it should be organic. If you got some numbers of it, but
We'll do it live.
exactly, we'll do it live. But BT wanted, he wants everybody to be prepared and on the same page and all that. So he says this to me. Well, Dan, once we got in the segment, all I remember was Nolan Arenado. So he starts going through it and he goes, who do you think that is? I go, Nolan Arenado. And he got really upset with me.
Did he really?
He was ticked off that day.
It's hard to get BT really upset, but when he does,
he's a maniac.
It's something.
Yeah. So that is why we do the Nolan Arenado thing, because the only name he did not want me to mention that day was Nolan Arenado. And I thought I was bringing the heat.
Yeah.
I thought I was bringing a lot of energy and excitement. He wanted that, just not Nolan Arenado.
I got you now.
Yeah.
Okay.
So-
Well, every time I'm listening, because I don't miss usually any show that you guys have.
Well, Dan, thank
now I'll
you.
know the backstory.
Yeah, that's what it is. And now everybody knows now.
Everybody knows. I don't miss a show that you're on, Anthony. I'll tell you that right now. I was downloading your football podcast, too.
Oh, Gridiron Guys, thank you, Dan.
Yeah, no problem.
Dan, I frequent Scoops with Danny Mac since we're just praising each other.
Yeah.
I often scoop with Danny Mac.
That's so kind of you.
Pretty much every day.
Marsh, if you had a podcast, I'd listen.
I actually used to, but I don't.
So. What happened to it?
Yeah, what happened to it, Marsh? Why'd you take it off the airwaves?
Well, it wasn't on the airwaves to begin with, but
Was it just you pontificating?
No, it
or
was me and a few other buddies. We were talking about college hockey. College hockey podcast.
I mean, people
maybe
will dive into that.
Yeah.
No doubt about it.
Maybe I get it back going again.
I think you should.
There's so many college hockey teams around here. You can understand why they dive in.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Anyways, so one player has made an absolute instant impact in his sport. We'll tell you who he is and why he's the greatest athlete known to man.
Is he?
No, not Izzy. Well, Jason Isringhouse.
I love Izzy. Love me
Izzy's
some
fantastic.
Cardinal Hall of
but no,
Famer.
this guy is unbelievable as well. That's next on 101 ESPN. Even though it's not 99 anymore or 101 here in St. Louis, you know that the August months and September months can still be very warm in St. Louis. So what you want to do is you want to call Ron at Swiss Air. Ron is the wizard of comfort. And when it comes to Swiss Air, they right now have $35 off any service call. So if you have anything going on right now with your AC, you want to make sure that you call Ron, the Wizard of Comfort at Swiss Air, because $35 off any service call, which is normally $95, you can't beat that price. If you already feel good about your AC unit, but you don't know about maybe your furnace, get ahead of things. Swiss Air has their $69 Magic Tune. It's a 29-point cooling system check to ensure your cooling system doesn't break down in the St. Louis heat. But they also have things to get you ready for, the fall and the winter months as well when it comes to your heating, your furnace. So when it comes to Swiss Air, whether you are doing a full replacement, which is what we had to do at the Stalter household, and boy, it gets uncomfortable. So don't wait on it like we did. But if you do have to replace the entire unit, no problem. Swiss Air, you're not going to beat their pricing, their customer service. You're not going to beat their warranties. I fell in love with Swiss Air just based on doing the comparing shopping and all that stuff. But Swiss Air, nobody can beat them. But if you're just looking at a service call, give them a call. 636-978-7800. Tell them Jamie and Anthony from 101 ESPN. You heard the spot. They'll give you the $35 off any service call right now, or sign up for their Magic Tune. Make sure that you're properly prepared and have the extended lifetime of your AC and your furnace ready to go, all courtesy of Swiss Air. Again, that number, 636-978-7800. Lionel Messi, this guy, who knew it? He could play football. Ooh. Did you know?
I knew he was pretty good. I didn't know he's this good. Actually, I did know he's this good. Now I'm seeing it every day on my social media feed of something unique that he does, and it's like, holy cow, man, this guy's unbelievable. When he, like, I didn't watch him. I watched the World Cup.
Yeah.
So I saw him there, and he was just remarkable because I do enjoy the World Cup. Am I the biggest soccer fan? No.
Yes. Oh.
Am I watching City? Yes. And then I thought, man, if this guy comes here like against those players, and it's no disrespect to MLS, but it's like night and day. Like, what's he going to do? And then you see it. Like, every day I'm getting a new thing on my feed. I'm like, this guy's unbelievable. He is awesome to watch. It is fun to watch him.
Yeah, no question. Marsh, can you turn off the mics for a second? I got to be vulnerable and ask Dan a question here.
Yeah. What do you got, buddy?
Right,
Come on.
Mics are going off.
Mics are going off.
Put your head on my shoulder. What do you got,
One.
babe?
Mics are off, Anthony.
All right, Dan. I don't want to bring this to the airwaves, but
I get it.
Is it a situation where like Messi's really good? I get that aspect of it.
that.
Okay, all right. But also, our American soccer is not.
You dare turn the microphone back on.
The best.
You watch yourself. You watch it. Watch it.
Is it kind of like that, though?
Well, it's kind of a little bit like that. It's just
like
that
he's dominating faces that he should be dominating.
Let's look at it this way. The MLS is not quite of the level of soccer that maybe he's played for the better part of his career.
Yeah.
Put it that way. Is he a man among boys? Sure. You could say that. Is he like the high school senior against some fifth graders? Yeah, it might be. You could equate it that way.
Fair enough.
The dude is awesome.
Yeah, he is.
And here's the thing.
No question. And other guys are trying. They're trying.
They're trying. They're on. As I like to say, they on scholarship too.
Yeah,
but not his scholarship.
They're wearing boots just like he is. The
dude is unbelievable. And when he comes through St. Louis, I can't wait to watch him. It was unfortunate he got signed. And he started training with Miami, and it just we just missed the cutoff of him making his debut. That would have been awesome. I would have really enjoyed to see that.
Is there a way that we can develop like an American style of soccer?
I think we've been trying for like 40 or 50 years to do this.
Okay.
Yeah, cut the mics again.
Yeah. Let me.
I never turned them back on.
Oh boy,
okay,
people are going to be confused.
Yeah.
A lot of
that into the conversation.
It's like BT when he wasn't popping up on YouTube.
Right.
On Monday.
Okay. Well, just leave them off then. Dan, you and I could just have a personal conversation.
No question.
Okay. So I understand that aspect of it, but I feel like we have been trying to maybe develop a style that is similar to like the German style or similar to,
that's why you bring in the European coaches.
Okay, but why can't we develop our own style and this is what I'm thinking. Just hear me out.
Okay.
Like Messi, and I brought this up before on these airwaves. Like Messi comes in, okay, and he thinks he's just going to dominate faces like he is. But we here in America, we play a more physical brand of soccer, okay? So he comes in and he's like, I'm going to dominate faces. And then before you know it, we are taking this guy behind the woodshed constantly. Like we are just physically roughing this, up. And he's like, I want out. This isn't soccer. This is like rugby or football. These Americans are psychopaths, And then he's like, I'm out of here. No, thank you.
That's what you wanted.
That's what I want.
Why wouldn't you want him to stay here and not be afflicted with some type of injury from Johnny Tough Guy?
Okay. So you're twisting what I'm saying.
I am not, sir.
What I'm saying is, why can't we develop our own American-style football where we are
just
basically
people?
Like we're the mob.
It's a rugby match.
Yeah,
you put hits on guys.
Basically,
we actually do have that, and it's called the NFL.
That's not Dan. It's not true. Okay,
no, it really is. There's bounties on guys.
There was.
There's cheap
they
hits.
caught those guys. Greg Williams paid the price. Sean Payton was out a full year. He had to make a Disney movie out of it.
Yeah.
Or Netflix or whatever it was. But what I'm saying is, okay, so Messi, I agree. He's been outstanding. He's been filthy good. But, we're competitive, right? So why can't we...
Here, honestly,
is there a way to do it, I guess, is what I'm saying.
What I don't understand is that we have so many people in this country and so many people that love soccer.
Yeah.
You know, I'm being dead serious
So am
now. I'm trying to figure it out. Why? And they started such a young age.
Yeah.
Why are we not up to the level of these other countries? Now, I'm sure you could get into there'd be a diatribe of examples of that people could give you. You know, there'd be tons of them that they'd say, well, the coaching isn't this at the youth level. You play the wrong system. The level of competition isn't what Messi had when he was coming up. I think those are all factors, but you would think you'd find 10 or 11 diamonds in the rough that can wear the American uniform and say, we can compete with anybody in the world. Now, I don't think they're that far away. If you look at the last World Cup, it was a different group of guys for the most part. They were better. But why are we not dominating? I don't know. I mean,
competing.
I think
they're
at that level.
The men's. I know the women's just suffered their loss. But
I think
the women's
they do.
have been great.
I think they did last time. Now, are they the level, though, of these teams that go to the finals of the World Cup? No, I don't think they are. I can't put my finger on it. Now, if we had Taylor Twellman on here, he'd give you a whole list of reasons as to why, there's issues with youth soccer in the United States. And I guarantee on the text line, we're going to have a lot of parents that chime in and say, I'll tell you why. I had Johnny go through, played this system, went to college, couldn't get to that next level, whatever. But I do find it really interesting is like we have this many people in the country. We can't find 10 or 11 that are just elite.
We have some of the greatest athletes known to man on this soil.
Yes.
Like what?
I don't get it.
Do they?
And it's not. Well, here's the other thing. It's not like hockey's expensive as a little kid.
Yes. Soccer.
You roll out a ball.
Right.
Go play.
Or what we say? Do we need me to develop the American style?
So
of soccer?
Your development would be some type of steroid regimen?
No. I'm talking about legal, within the rules of the game, a style, a philosophy. No, Dan, come on.
You want the elite? You're talking about doping?
No.
Steroid use? Little Johnny is, I think that's where you...
I thought I could be vulnerable and talk to you about this, Dan, but clearly I cannot be.
Do you guys want me to turn the mics back on?
Yeah, please turn the mics back on.
Mics are
Welcome back, everybody.
Yeah.
101 ESPN.
Oh, my.
Breaking news alert.
According to Derek Gould, Tyler O'Neill has been scratched. Awaiting word. He's expressed concern about how knee has responded to the turf.
We're going to talk about Tyler O'Neill and how you should trade him in the offseason. And we've got Bud Bash tickets to give away next on 101 ESPN. We have your chance right now to win a 4-pack of tickets to next Tuesday night's Budweiser Bash for Cardinals versus A's. It is a Gary Gaetti bobblehead night for this Budweiser Bash. It's a limited edition bobblehead, of course, and you can text in right now if you have the correct answer to the trivia question we're about to throw out. To 314-399-9646. That is the Air Comfort Service text line. And to win the Bud Bash tickets, you got to have the right answer, and you also got to be the 101st texter. So here's your question today. Gary Gaetti, he played collegiate baseball for Lakeland College in Mattoon, Illinois. And which other university? Which other university did Gary Gaetti play college baseball for? Lakeland College in Mattoon, Illinois. That's one of them. What's the other one? If you have the correct answer and you are the 101st texter to 314-399-9646, you will win Budweiser Bash tickets for Cardinals versus A's for next Tuesday night. So there you have it. We'll tell you who the winner was in a segment or two. Tyler O'Neill, scratched again. Back-to-back days, he has been scratched due to a knee injury. Yesterday it was the tight knee. Today, apparently, not progressing well enough. He was in the lineup. Now he's out, scratched again. So here's your new lineup. Newbar is still leading off. Goldschmidt is second. Arenado third. Gorman is your cleanup hitter. Contreras fifth. That all stays the same. Tyler O'Neill was hitting sixth. Now it's Jordan Walker, followed by Alec Burleson. Carlson is back in the lineup now after originally not being in the lineup, and Tommy Edman is still hitting ninth for you.
Carl Carlson?
Carl Carlson.
Carl Carlson.
That's correct. So Dylan Carlson is
I want to get into that one and still put a little chuckle in me and a little smile on my face.
Good.
But I'm disappointed with Tyler O'Neill, man.
T-Bone?
Yeah.
My fingers hurt.
Oh, well, now your back's
knees
going to
gonna
hurt because you just pulled landscaping duty.
See, now it made me laugh again. It's not supposed to happen with somebody's injury.
You know what?
I'm not that kind of guy.
No, you're not. Not
at all.
Not one bit. Hey,
I don't want to revel in someone's sore knee.
No.
I don't want to do that.
That's not you.
No.
That's not who you are.
No, sir.
Wilson Contreras, please. That's my new home run call.
Okay. Yeah, you got to go with
Tyler O'Neill.
Yeah, that's a good call. And it helped yesterday.
It did. You're damn right it did.
Went to Arenado, and you got on the board.
Hey, Dan, they got to trade O'Neill in the offseason, right? I mean, you got to stop with this nonsense now.
It's so interesting. I mean, they've got the outfielders coming out, with Newbar. You could put Tommy Edman out there. You got Brendan Donovan out there. You got Jordan Walker trying to learn on the job. And now you got Tyler O'Neill. One of the things, though, if you're going to trade him, he's got to be healthy. Like, he's got to show that he can stay healthy down the stretch. And I look at it two different ways. If I'm the Cardinals or really anybody out there, I'm enamored with what he potentially, and that's the big word, potentially brings me, which is speed, 2 Gold Gloves, finished in the top 10 or 5 for MVP a few years ago, and could be a threat in my lineup. The flip side is he doesn't play. So,
which is a problem. I don't know if you've seen.
Well, here's the thing:
baseball teams where their players don't play.
He's a free agent after next year.
Yes. So
you're going to get a highly motivated individual player. You could try to trade him in the offseason where his value probably isn't great because it could be. Teams will take a flyer on him and say, "Yeah, I'm willing to do that." He played the majority of the 2 months down the stretch. The other thing is you do it like you did this year. You say, we're going to ride it out with them until that's done, and at the trade deadline, adios, one way or another. But you'd be really, really hard-pressed to go out and say, let's give him a 3-year extension. Let's give him a 4-year. There's no way you could do that.
No.
He can't stay on the field.
Exactly, Dan. No, you know what? I actually take back what I said, and I take back the snark specifically, but I take back what I said. I am not trading Tyler O'Neill because you're right. His value isn't going to be good enough.
Not right now.
Not in the offseason. Even if he gets on a tear, it's still not going to be good enough. So unless some team, some GM, some president of baseball operations decides to, I don't know, he becomes dumb for a day and he calls you and says, hey, I'm going to give you a decent prospect for this, for Tyler O'Neill. Unless that happens, I'm going to keep him. And then I'm going to play him consistently in the first half next year. And one of three things is going to happen. He either gets hot and his value goes through the roof, and then I'm trading him. He gets hot, his value is still lukewarm, and I decide if I'm competing, I'm going to just keep him, and whatever happens, happens. Or three, he's going to get hurt, and I'm done with him at the end of the year anyways.
Well, I would not be, if you still have him, there's some value to him because you don't know what you're going to get, right? If he's healthy and he comes back, all of a sudden, you got yourself a pretty good outfielder.
Yeah.
If he's injured, the value is less than zero probably. I mean, he's got to show that he can stay healthy. Mm-hmm. And if he can't stay on the field, no one's going to want him.
Right.
And his value at this point is that he's missed the better part of the season, missed a ton last year. So his value, to your point, is right. His value is low right now. I would have to anticipate. Now, I'm not in those rooms, but I would think it is. Now, it does take one to tango, right? It takes one team to say, I'm willing to take a flyer on this guy. He's going into his walk year. He's going to be highly motivated to play. He's going to play through sore knees, bad backs, those kind of things, because he's going to want to get paid. That's something that I always keep in mind in any sport or any individual in sports that I watch. Where is he in his contract, and is he close to his walk year? And if he's in his walk year, I'll take a flyer on him because he's going to be highly motivated. Yep. It's human nature. I don't care if you're talking football, basketball, baseball, soccer. You give me somebody that's going to be a free agent, I guarantee you're going to find a guy that's going to give you a lot.
Yeah, true.
Unless he's severely injured, he's going to play.
Yeah. Man alive.
I mean, he'll play. I bet he plays a ton next year. I guarantee it. Unless he's got a back issue that allows him not to swing the bat, he will be in that lineup.
All right, 3:15. Your time check is brought to you by Clarkson Jewelers, an officially licensed Rolex jeweler with Dan McLaughlin. I'm Anthony Stalter. We're going to play Are You Sold next. right, let's play Are You Sold here in the Fast Lane on 101 ESPN. Dan
I'm
McLaughlin.
sold on you, Anthony.
I'm sold on you, Dan.
Thanks, buddy. You too, Marshy.
Marshy,
Doing a hell of a job.
appreciate that.
We're sold
Just
on
a
you.
hell of a job.
Wow. We're sold on these questions that you dug up for us. Go ahead.
Let's start it off. We talked a little bit about it earlier in the show. Miles Michaelis, who was taken out of the game yesterday at 80 pitches in the 8th inning. Are you sold on that decision being only on Ollie Marmol?
No, not sold on that at all. I think it's probably a collective effort of the pitching coach, Ollie, and the information that was collected by others before the game analytically. I would say it's not just on him. Now, does ultimately he have to go out and take the ball? Yeah. Mm-hmm. Do I think it's probably a group decision? Absolutely.
I think as a leader, you're responsible. You know, it stops with you.
You take the heat.
You take the heat. Absolutely. And the player gets the praise. That's just how it works when it comes to managing or coaching. But Dan, you're absolutely right. No, this is a collective decision.
Yeah.
I would also pin it on the front office. This is your philosophy. Your philosophy.
That's what I meant by others that are collecting
the data and everything.
The info.
Yeah,
everybody in the front office.
Yeah, this is not just if you're just blaming Ollie, like the decision is ultimately Ollie's, okay? There does have to be a leader. And we can blame Ollie, wrong decision. But behind the scenes, you're absolutely right, Dan. It's a collective decision.
Yeah, that's where I'm at with that, too. Love your hat, Marshy. That's an old school Scottsdale PGA ad. Just had to throw it out there.
I appreciate that. It is one of my favorite hats to wear,
Marshy's,
for sure.
Vintage.
I like to think so. The old rope hat. I think it's coming back in style now.
I'm sold on your hat.
Dan, your compliments, they're making me blush. Are you sold on the Washington Commanders coaching staff? I don't know if you saw the comments made by Ron Rivera, or he was answering some questions about Eric Bieniemy. It seems like the players don't like the way that Bieniemy goes about his business as their new offensive coordinator.
We might be getting a little bit of a peek into maybe how Eric Bieniemy has interviewed before, or maybe the reputation that Eric Bieniemy has.
I mean, with that offense he ran in Kansas City, how does he not have a head coaching job at this point?
We've kept that. That's been the question for years now. Well, if he sits down,
that's a great point.
If he sits down and he is. And I don't know what he is, but if he's so intense to the point where maybe he's combative, or he's got these viewpoints that just don't mesh with ownership, it's hard to get a job that way, right?
Yeah.
Now maybe it worked in Kansas City because Andy Reid was there, and Andy Reid is a genius, and he's somebody that's seemingly laid back. He's secure. He knows exactly who he is. He's a multi-Super Bowl winning coach. He's going to go down as one of the best ever. So maybe it's a little different with Reid, and you ain't barking at Mahomes. So
no.
Maybe,
Kelsey.
Yeah, or Kelsey. So maybe this is one of the reasons why Bieniemy wasn't being viewed as a head coach. The other thing, though, is if you're Ron Rivera, you cannot say this.
No, you got to stand up for your guy.
You've got to stand up for your guy. You cannot say that the players are this, that, and the other. You got to talk to Bieniemy about it. You got to show this guy support. I thought this was a huge misstep by Ron Rivera.
I liked Eric Bieniemy in the 30 for 30. I'm just saying.
Was that the Colorado?
Yeah. that was a good one, too.
Did he play for
He played on
Colorado,
that team.
the Cordell Stewart?
Yeah.
Okay.
Or was it Cordell? No, he played with, I think it was before then, Sal, young man QB that passed away. That was the 5-down game against Mizzou.
Yes, okay.
I believe Eric Bieniemy was on that team. I think so. If he wasn't, then I got the wrong Bieniemy.
No, I highly doubt that. Cordell Stewart is that Colorado team went into Michigan.
Awesome.
Hail Mary.
The 60-yarder.
Yep.
Pretty good.
Was unreal.
I think it is fascinating, though. If you're the head coach, ultimately, who's going to win you the games? The guys between the white lines.
Yes.
But I brought you in, and you're my guy, Eric Bieniemy.
Mm-hmm.
I can't double cross, not the right word. I've got to protect you, but I got to protect you to a point.
Yeah.
Because if the guys that are with the helmets and the pads on aren't buying into you, and I'm the leader, then I gotta look to you then.
Yeah.
Eric Bieniemy, and say, dude, it ain't working. Mm-hmm. Or you got to change this, or you got to go talk to him or them and change your philosophy on how you approach them, because we got to have them buy in. And if they don't buy in, we ain't winning. That means we all get fired.
I do wonder if Ron Rivera's feeling the heat.
Oh, for sure.
I mean, I think he should be. Everybody's talking about like Bill Belichick. Oh, Bill Belichick, get the hot seat, all that. What about Ron Rivera? What does he do? What has he done? Not only in Washington, but he had the one good year in Carolina.
Yeah.
And you have new ownership, too. Maybe they want a fresh start with a new coach with that whole situation going on.
No doubt.
My opinion on the matter, I feel like some of these players need to stop being so soft, though. Like, obviously, you should look and see this guy just came from a Super Bowl winning culture. And you mentioned him maybe not yelling at Mahomes. They've gotten into some heated discussions on the sidelines, and that's been well documented.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't be surprised if he had that attitude towards all those guys. And I think that somewhat pushed them into being the great team that they are, is because they do show up every day. They do want to get better every day. And it's not like he's berating these guys. He's just yelling at them in a sense like, hey, like, do you want to get better, or do you want to be the Washington Commanders that
here's the thing,
everybody's seen?
Marshy, here's the thing, and I'm with you. I mean, if you're a position coach or a coach period or the head coach, you should be able to command the respect. The money, though, has changed everything.
For sure.
When you have a player making $25 million and you're going to, jump him a little bit and say, hey, you need to be doing this, that, and the other, he's going to look at you and go, really?
Right.
If you don't handle it properly with kid gloves, right or wrong, that's just the way it's handled now. I've seen it. I know how it works. And you got to be kind of towing both lines.
That's what happened to Nick Saban in Miami.
Yep.
As soon as he started barking at Zach Thomas, do you remember middle linebacker Zach Thomas?
Yeah, I think he just went to the Hall of Fame.
Yes, he played alongside who's the defensive end there?
Jason
Taylor.
Jason Taylor.
Nick Saban was barking at Zach Thomas in practice one time, and Thomas looked at him and goes, "Go blank yourself. I make more money than you." Like, this is the paid league. So I don't know if it's a situation where you got to baby them, but I do think there's a respect factor there.
Yeah. I always felt that was one of the great qualities that no one ever talked about with Tony La Russa. You had guys making a lot of money, and you had veterans. A lot of his teams are veteran-laden, and there was a fear factor with him. Now, was it like over-the-top fear factor? Like, oh, my God. No, it was just, okay, I respect what he's doing. I'll look myself in the mirror. Maybe there's something I got to do. The open door policy, if you didn't like something he was doing, you go to him. But he always had the command of the room.
Yeah.
From what I could see. And I wasn't in the room, but I talked to guys that were, and they all came back and said he commands a room. He commands respect.
Sure.
That's hard to do that at this day and age.
Very cool.
Now, part of it was his resume, and he'd been around forever. But you would think with Bieniemy, part of it would be his resume, too, and the fact that he's coaching and has coached one of the great offenses in recent NFL history. So maybe this guy knows what he's talking about.
Yeah.
It's just, it's so, the money, man, changes everything. You got to be so careful with it.
Mike Tomlin's a perfect example, too, what you're talking about. Mike Tomlin commands respect.
I was doing a NFL game. It was the Rams against the Vikings. I was doing play-by-play with Tony Baselli as it was on Fox. And Mike Tomlin was the defensive coordinator with Minnesota.
Yeah.
And I walked into that room and sat down. We met with a couple head coaches, and then he walked in. And Baselli and I, after he left, we go, that dude has got it. I don't know what it is, but he's got it.
Yeah.
It was like, he was awesome. I got goosebumps thinking about it. Just talking, we talked to him, man, for an hour. Yeah. And probably half of it was about football, and the rest was just about life. And, what he looks at for the league. And he was a fascinating character, and I love that he's having success.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it was cool.
Great success, no doubt. All right, it's a Fastlane on 101 ESPN. Dan McLaughlin filling in for Jamie Rivers. I'm Anthony Stalter. Let's stick with the football theme here. You sat down with a couple of legends recently.
I did. Yesterday,
Torrey Holt, Isaac Bruce, a couple of guys that at one point did some things here in St. Louis. Dan, I don't know if you're aware.
They were pretty good.
Yeah, absolutely.
Begs a couple of questions we were thinking about.
We'll get into that next on 101 ESPN.
101 ESPN Sports Center.
I'm Andrew Marsh. It's time for a Sports Center update brought to you by Saliga Heating and Cooling. The Cards lose to the Rays yesterday by a final score of 4-2. They're back in action tonight. Dakota Hudson on the mound going up against Jalen Beeks. 5:40 first pitch. Tyler O'Neill was scratched once again from the lineup today. Dylan Carlson has been inserted into the lineup. If you missed anything from today's show, make sure you go to 101ESPN.com or check out the 101 mobile app. You can find the full show there. It's all brought to you by Dobbs Tire and Auto Centers. This Sports Center update is brought to you by Saliga Heating and Cooling, independent American Standard heating and air conditioning dealer.
Yard line. Warner to throw. Going deep downfield. Adjusting for it is Isaac Bruce. And Isaac Bruce threads his way for a touchdown. 73 yards.
I always say that, that my dreams are bigger than my memories, but my memories are still there. I mean, when you're driving down 70 or when you're on 270, 170, you headed towards downtown. I mean, some of those same memories start coming up about, driving down Sunday morning, getting ready to play a game, and sometimes just being downtown, and you see the actual dome where a lot of great memories, great plays actually happen in that building. So, Memphis and Missouri will be playing in that dome here coming real soon. So I have a chance to be back in that dome and see some football. But, yeah, the memories are still there. They're fun memories. Do we move on? Yeah, we have to. But at the same time, I think we still have those memories of the great games that were played in there.
Warner, back to throw, under pressure, throws the end zone, touchdown, Rams, Torrey Holt. And the rookie, Torrey Holt, made the catch.
I'm staying at the Ritz-Carlton for this event, and they gave me a room that I have the view of downtown. So I see the arch and the city, and it takes me back. It's like, wow, I remember being downtown, riding downtown, getting ready to go to the stadium, and the tailgating and the fans and the arch and, people back home back in North Carolina that had never been to St. Louis, seeing the arch and seeing it just brings back so many great memories. And I remember that dome really rocking, man. The fans were bobbing and weaving. I mean, they were ultra excited about what we were doing, but we generated that excitement by the way that we played, and how excited we were for each other having success. I think that spilled over certainly into the fans.
So you heard a couple of different voices there, and our thanks to Dan McLaughlin, who's filling in for Jamie Rivers today. Danny Mac produced that audio that you heard coming in. Al Michaels, of course, on the call. First voice you heard was Isaac Bruce. Last voice you heard, and the second voice you heard there was Torrey Holt. You heard Dan talking about, because Dan did the interview with two of the most impactful athletes here in St. Louis, Isaac Bruce, Torrey Holt, and, of course, of the Rams and the greatest show on turf.
So they were part of the Ascension Charity Classic yesterday. I emceed it. It was their Legends Breakfast, kind of the kickoff to the golf tournament, which is about a month away. But when I was doing the interview, I seriously thought of you the whole time, because you would know this answer better than I would. You love football. I know it's been talked about at times. I can't remember, though, a combination like that, and I can't remember if there's been an offense or will be an offense that is like what we saw back then. I guess the Chiefs are a little bit like that to an extent. When you have Kelsey, they've had others that have filled in that have been good on the outside.
Yeah,
but
Tyreek Hill.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking of. But I just don't think they got, now when Holt goes in, that'll be 5 St. Louis Rams on the offensive side of the football that go into Canton. And he's been up, I think, 4 times. Yeah. He's going in. It's just a matter of getting in now. I don't think there's a team or an era that it will ever see that again with that style of football.
Yeah, they did something that in that, because let's remember here, let's go back to that era of football. So you're coming off the 90s. You're coming off of really run heavy offenses. There was only one offense that kind of rivaled what the Greatest Show on Turf did before that.
Run and shoot?
They did it in a different way. It was actually the Vikings in 98. So the Minnesota Vikings in 98.
So you had Chris Carter. You had my man
Randy Moss, who was in his rookie year.
Just show me the money, baby.
That's right. And then you had Randall Cunningham. Cunningham, a veteran at that point, had been around a little bit. But they attacked teams vertically.
Yep.
The Rams did it in a variety of ways. The Greatest Show on Turf. I mean, they could really stretch you horizontally. They could stretch you vertically, so they could stretch you, horizontally or vertically with either Holt or Isaac Bruce. But I thought the key to that entire offense was Marshall Faulk.
Yeah, absolutely.
Marshall Faulk was the guy that I would believe that most defensive coordinators were worried about each and every game, because you had so much attention paid to the outside guys. And even if you had a good secondary, did you have a linebacker or a safety or a nickelback that could line up with Marshall Faulk? And the answer was no.
Yeah.
So I think Marshall was the key to that offense, but it almost minimizes what Mike Martz's concept was, which is that, again, they could stretch a defense either way. Randall Cunningham and the Vikings in 98, I mean, they were going to go deep constantly, and they were going to constantly stretch you that way, and then maybe mix in Robert Smith, the running back. But the Greatest Show on Turf did it in multiple ways.
I thought this was great. Martin Kilcoyne did the Q&A with those two guys during the event, and he said, Isaac, what was your favorite game, your favorite moment? And you heard the touchdown catch in the Super Bowl. It could have been, I think he had 4 TDs against the 49ers that year in one game when they finally beat the 49ers. He had the great first playoff game against Minnesota where he makes the catch and looks on the video board and sees himself. He said that turned into a habit, actually, that he would do that, catch the ball. He did it in the Super Bowl and then look at the video board to see himself.
And see if anybody's behind him, right?
Yeah. He said, though, his favorite moment, or the most proud that he said that he had a game in which he caught either 1 or 2 passes, and they weren't touchdowns or anything. They were not meaningless, but nothing big. Mm-hmm. And he had like 13 or 14 hits downfield, and he got the game ball from Mike Martz. So he finished blocks and then wiped out a couple of guys. And there's Isaac Bruce in the Hall of Fame, one of the best wide receivers ever, saying my favorite moment is getting the game ball because of my blocking.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like little things that they did.
He's a great athlete, great competitor, great dude. Just a great man.
I also loved, so Torrey was asked about it too, and he said, he said, I'd have to say, and he said, we were clowning on people. That's how he said, we were clowning on people. And he said, but that Monday night game after the Super Bowl, and he and Oz Hakeem are running down the sideline against the Broncos, and you can see them facing each other together, running for 40, 50 yards and laughing. Right. You can see them laughing about it. And then they did bob and weave and all that other stuff. But it was great to have him back in town, and it just made me think of, because I'm slowly coming back a little bit to the NFL and watching. I think for a lot of fans like myself, I was hurt that they left. I loved having the NFL in town, but I love that era. I mean, I didn't miss a game. I was a season ticket holder, the Super Bowl year, all that stuff. Mm-hmm. It was fun to be a part of. But I thought about you. I was like, man, are we ever going to see anything like this? And I know it's been talked about a lot, but seeing those guys, they both look like they can still play, by the way. Yeah. But seeing those two guys, I'm like, man. Marshall, Orlando, Kurt, these two guys, and not to be overlooked, Trent Green was incredible. Yeah. That training camp. That's the other thing they said. If he doesn't get hurt, he said, we're talking about Trent Green. He said the ball never hit the ground in training camp. Mm-hmm. He said, and he goes, he looked at everybody. Torrey did. He said, no, I'm telling you, the ball never hit the ground. Trent Green was as locked in as anybody. So they had some studs, man, on that team, and it just made football so much fun in this town.
It transformed how other teams built their rosters. So when you throw out there, like, hey, will we see it again? I think we have seen versions of it, but we'll never see that again. Because
now, do you think it's because personnel, or because you think they've been able to adjust to what they were doing?
Well, the game has changed.
Yeah, for sure.
So a couple of things here. So, like the 2013 Denver Broncos, when Peyton Manning first got to Denver, the way that they attacked defenses was similar in the fact of Peyton was so good pre-snap that he could tell which wide receiver on which matchup was probably going to break free, but a lot of it was that short to intermediate. He didn't have a lot of the deep stuff, but they put up. I think they put the most points up on the scoreboard in a single game or in a single season, in NFL history. But this isn't a passing era.
Exactly.
You know, it's more acceptable that your quarterback's going to put the ball in the air 40 to 50 times a game. Back then, it wasn't. The other thing that happened was that the Rams were, the greatest show on turf was ahead of times. When you think of defenses in the 90s, you think of big up front to slow the run, and your linebackers had to be big, and they had to move really. They didn't have to move vertically as much as they just had to, or horizontally as they had to go up and down, right? Like they had to attack the run. Linebackers now are not 250.
No.
You don't see London Fletcher now. You see 215 because they also have to rush the passer and they also have to play in pass coverage. So, Dan, I think the big key here is that when the Tampa 2 was invented by Lovie Smith and the Buccaneers, not Lovie Smith, excuse me.
Tony Dungy.
By Tony Dungy, thank you. And the Buccaneers that eventually won the Super Bowl in 2002, the Tampa 2 was designed specifically to slow down the greatest show on turf.
I have another question for you.
And now that system, while teams still use it, is somewhat outdated.
So the texter just brought this up, and it's funny, we're on the same page here, the 314. I started thinking of the Hall of Famers that are in currently for the Rams, another one going in, and Torrey Holt. Mm-hmm. And you look at the longevity of London Fletcher and how good of a player he is and was, how good he was. He was great at times. Is he a Hall of Famer?
Yes. He should be.
I think he is too.
His numbers are similar in a lot of regards to Ray Lewis.
Yeah.
To me, he's a Hall of Famer.
And I mean, longevity too at that position.
Yes. Are you kidding me? Yes.
At that position?
Yeah.
Now, he may not be able to spell in 20 years, but his own name, but
that's an unfortunate reality. Isaac Bruce told a great story to, I had a great pleasure of interviewing Isaac at the time, it was Earth City when they had the practice facilities.
Sure.
And he spoke to a lot of high school and I think Pee-wee coaches. He came in.
He's doing that again.
Is he?
In like 2 or 3 weeks. His foundation and Torrey's foundation deals with cancer, but Isaac does a lot with the education for underserved kids.
So I had, like I said, I had the great pleasure of interviewing Isaac. This is probably, 6-7 years ago. But he told a London Fletcher story in that, when they first came in, they didn't know who he was, and he was the talk of like the lunchroom though in training camp because of his intensity and the way he was hitting everybody.
Not a huge guy,
but everybody. But Isaac, to your Isaac talk about it, was like, who the hell is this guy?
Right.
Where did this dude come from? And he wound up being, they didn't know, but he wound up being London Fletcher. It's just the intensity that he practiced with really is what kind of allowed him to make the team, but then he wound up that's who he was in games too.
I don't know if you remember this, but I do vividly. So I would cover the Rams every Sunday, and this is prior to me doing the baseball games, and I would bounce all over the place. I was doing blues hockey and all this stuff. Mm-hmm. Sundays, I'd go watch, and I'd be covering the games, and there's old Tony Banks going back. And I swear, I've never seen a quarterback not check off as much as he did. Mm-hmm. He didn't check off anywhere. He just looked where 80 was, and it was going to 80 every time. Yeah. You could have, Anthony, you could have said to the other receivers, don't even come on the field.
Yeah.
Don't worry about it. He's going to go to Isaac because he can't check down on anybody.
Sure.
It was unbelievable, and he would take a beating every Sunday. Isaac would, but he'd keep coming back, and then now he makes it to the Hall of Fame. So it was great having those two guys back in.
That's great. And where can we listen to the entire interview?
Yeah, this Sunday, Golf with Jay Delsing. So it was done at a golf event, so we tied it into a golf segment, and those two are on, and it's really fun. It's a fascinating interview with what they're doing now. Look back to the Rams, their charitable efforts, and Golf with Jay Delsing is I co-hosted with Jay every Sunday, 8 to 10. So I think people will look forward to that.
Excellent. I do too. I can't tell you how many interviews I've heard of those two guys, but I just soak up the information every single time.
Yeah,
because those two guys are great. Excellent job.
By the way, this is real quickly. Isaac, apparently, you know how they knock on the door when you're at the hotel room, and then when you're going into the Hall of Fame, and then they knock. Yeah. He didn't answer his door right away. Did you know that?
No.
He said, I didn't answer my door right away because they made me wait, so I'm gonna go ahead and make them wait a little bit.
Competitor.
That's awesome.
That's the competitor in Isaac Bruce, and you can see it. He's such a good guy, but you can tell there's certain instances, and that's one of them.
Yeah,
where that competitive fire
got
comes
a little
out.
edge to him.
Yeah, you have to.
It's fun.
I like athletes that's got a little that have a little chip on their shoulder.
Me too.
And
that's what makes him great.
That, no doubt. Who's been the most transformative athlete in their sport? We're going to talk about that next on 101 ESPN.
So I chatted with Tiger. He knew a lot about the event. He knew a lot about Norwood. He knew Hogan won here. So if you ever want to question how much of a golf savant Tiger is, he didn't know which major. He goes, Hogan won there, right? And I said, absolute 48 PGA. He said that the experience at Bellerive in 2018 was the best ever he's had as a professional. And he said, when I turn 50, get my cart ready. And then later in the night, apropos of nothing, he said, where's my friend from St. Louis? He pointed at me and he said, when I turn 50, get my cart ready. He said, he calls it a buggy. And he's motivated because he wants to beat up on the same players. 2 weeks later, I actually was in South Florida and I had a chance to play golf with Rory, which was amazing. And he was at the dinner and he said, hey man, Tiger committed to your event kind of publicly. Did you follow up with him? And I said, well, I don't really text Tiger, so that's not something I can do. And he goes, I'll see him at JT's wedding. I'll remind him.
All right, so that was Nick Ragone of Ascension. And you, Dan, you had interviewed Nick for the event that we were just talking about with Isaac Bruce and with Torrey Holt.
Yep.
So Nick Ragone talked about Tiger Woods, and Dan, you had kind of pitched this idea, which I thought was really interesting. You said, who's been the most transformative athlete in their sport ever?
Or even if they said this guy is coming, or gal, coming to St. Louis, you would do anything you could to go buy that ticket to go watch them play. So this isn't just a golf segment. This is more about, now, Tiger, if he goes on the Champions Tour, will change that entire tour. I mean, it'll be 10 deep to go watch him play.
Right.
He'll bring in sponsors. He'll bring in more money than they've ever seen. It'll be like the reincarnation of what he did for the PGA Tour.
Yeah.
But we talked about a player earlier that I would do just about anything to go watch him play. And I'm not that guy. I'm fine just staying home, watching television. Great, they're here. I would like to see Messi play. If I could see Messi come through St. Louis, I would say, count me in. I would do that.
It's one of those things where you say, yeah, I saw Tiger.
Yeah, exactly.
I saw Tiger play, or I saw Messi play. I think, did you go see the Angels when they were here, Marsh?
I did. I saw the game that Ohtani pitched.
So I think
that's literally the definition of what we're talking about.
I think that fits perfectly.
That's the one from baseball I thought about.
Yeah, Marsh can say I saw Shohei Ohtani pitch at Busch Stadium.
Yeah, and I saw Dylan Carlson hit a home run off of Shohei Ohtani from the left side.
That's one he'll remember.
Absolutely. Sure. Yeah, BK wants to trade him for basically nothing.
Yeah, I saw that.
So
he mentioned you in a tweet today.
I saw that. The Clark Schmidt.
He's been trying to hammer that home.
One pitch from Clark Schmidt. He, jams into my face. What?
I went and saw MJ in his prime.
I saw MJ a couple of times at
and I sat
United Center
all the way up. I had no money, and I saved up whatever I had and went with a buddy of mine. We went to Chicago and saw not only MJ play, and he got off to a terrible start in the game. He was like 1 for 5 or 1 for 6, and then he looked up at halftime and he had like 32.
I was about to say, what do you have, 40?
Oh, he went off.
You said 1 for 6. I thought you were talking baseball.
From the floor, and not with the Birmingham Barons.
That's great.
And then in the same game, Rodman got ejected and took his jersey off. And so I got the full compliment of what the Bulls were like that.
Yeah.
But he would have been one. I think I'd pay to go see LeBron just to say I saw him play. He's the all-time leading scorer in NBA history.
Sure.
Hopefully he plays.
I saw Gretzky in his prime when he was with the Edmonton Oilers, and then I saw him again when he was with the Blues. Mm-hmm. That first night, I will never forget that night when he was with the St. Louis Blues, and then whatever it was, Kiel Center, but Scott Trade now. They introduced him, and they're playing the national anthem, and he's got tears rolling down his cheeks of that first game in St. Louis. And I've never, ever, and this includes when I went to Game 6 of the Stanley Cup, and at least the beginning 5 minutes were really loud, and then they got blown out. I've never heard the place that loud than when Gretzky was there.
No kidding.
It was unbelievable, that first game. It was Babe Ruth was in your uniform, and or your sweater, and he's playing in your house.
That's cool.
It was awesome, man. But these are some of the guys I would think about now. I don't know about now. I guess LeBron, Tiger, Shohei would be one.
The one name that jumps out to me is Steph Curry. I think he's changed the entire game of basketball.
Yeah, yes. I mean, with the way you view, you view, even collegiately.
Even down to the AAU kids.
Yeah, the
see kids shooting shots from half court because they want to be Steph Curry.
That's a good point of like how people or kids, we should say, change a game because there's a game changer in the professional ranks, but how they get off to a quicker shot, how they maybe move better to their right or their left, depending on how that particular athlete shoots off a dribble, how they dribble. You mimic what you see. Right. How many kids grew up like Albert Pujols, glaring at the at the opposing pitcher and kind of just
almost squatting.
Yeah,
I had the full batting stance. Even though I was a lefty, I had the Albert Pujols batting stance with the wiffle ball bat.
Yeah.
Anytime I'd play out in the backyard, it was always Albert.
I guess McDavid would be the guy in hockey now. I mean, McDavid he's unbelievable to watch. Yeah, but he's not that big name, though. I mean, he's a big name. Don't get me wrong. But he's not.
There are not a lot. There's a few players that not necessarily have the exact same skill set, but are still putting up numbers as well. But I don't know, could Connor Bedard be that dude? Could Victor Wembanyama be that dude for the NBA? I do want to see them Bedard play for sure.
Yeah.
I don't know if there's a football player now with that.
I mean, Pat Mahomes, he's throwing no-look passes, but Aaron Rodgers does that.
Yeah.
I'd like to see Mahomes. I have not seen him in person. I think that would be pretty cool to watch him play, and that's not too hard to get to. Just go across the state and
sure,
get yourself a ticket and bundle up.
I know that I've shared this before. People know that people will kind of give me an eye roll here, but I understand. Back when I lived in Detroit and I was covering the various Detroit teams, the Falcons came to town, and it was Vic. And at the end of every Lions game, to get ready to go into the press conference, we would get into the locker room. We would have an opportunity to go down to the field for the final 2 minutes and then into the locker room. And you watch Vic on TV, and you're like, man, this guy, he's fast, and he's got an arm and all that. When you're down on the field and watching Vic at that time, the velocity in which the ball came out of his hand, just a flick of the wrist, the velocity in which the ball came out was was like nothing I had ever seen before. I imagine Marino was the same way, Favre maybe the same way, but Vic was not a big guy. Vic's my size; he's 6 foot. It's not talking about somebody 6'4", somebody that had been constantly throwing since they were 2 years old, Manning style. Vic was 6 foot. Obviously, he was electric with it, but his arm, just a
cannon.
It was unbelievable to see that ball come out of his hands. I don't know how anybody caught it, quite frankly.
Oh, if anybody saw the hands of Torrey Holt yesterday, you get the impression of why it's so tough to catch a football. His fingers looked mangled. Yeah. Felt bad for him. I mean, they're beat up. Yeah, they're going different directions. Literally,
and a lot of receivers are like that.
I would say. I was thinking of other guys. I mean, Deion Sanders, Bo Jackson, Brett Favre.
The text line said Deion Jackson just changed the game of football at the cornerback position.
Dude, Deion, like early 90s Deion, or even mid-90s when he played the year for the Niners.
I was going to say the Niners year.
Cowboys. Yeah. Holy smokes. I mean, he would shut down an entire side of the field.
Barry Sanders would be another one.
I had a chance to see Barry Sanders
why I brought it up.
in Pontiac.
Yep.
Yeah. Remember the Silverdome? Pontiac Silverdome. I went there one time.
Isn't that
I saw Barry.
Still there?
I think they tore it down.
Did they end up tearing it down?
Maybe not.
The Tiger Stadium stayed
maybe that's the one I'm thinking
upright
of.
for a while.
Did it?
I'm not sure if it. I think they filmed 61 there with Billy Crystal.
Yeah.
And I think the last time I was there, drove by it and it was still going. Now, I don't think anybody was like using it or anything. It wasn't a minor league team or anything like that. But that was probably 4 or 5 years ago, and it was still up, I believe. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
All right, we have the Gauntlet coming up next on 101 ESPN.
categories, one challenger. Can you master the gauntlet?
Brought to you by Master, your hometown source for business communications for more than 30 years. Visit masstour.com.
Time check brought to you by Clarkson Jewelers. That's Marsh. I'm Dan. We do not have Anthony. Maybe he's in the bathroom. I don't know
here
what
he
he's
comes.
doing.
Oh, he's got his full pantry of food that he makes fun of me.
I don't know.
You inspired me.
I don't know how to do this, Anthony, to bring us back from breaks, to go into breaks.
You're a pro,
Dan nailed it with the Clarkson Jewelers time check.
I used to do a show, if you remember, Marsh, from 10 to 11 here on 101 ESPN.
I feel like everybody loves doing the time check.
I think so, because it means you're closer to when you can go home. That's a shot directly at you and Marsh.
Holy smokes. And you've been so polite, so nice. So
I didn't mean it that way. I was just joking. Come on.
When we used to do the Rams pregame show down at the Dome, there was always one individual that came up to me damn near every time and said, hey, and he was serious. He said, I enjoy your programming on 101. One request. And I said, okay, sure. It's always like, talk more blues or talk more cards or talk more whatever. Can we get more time checks? He was dead serious.
You can go to the internet and find out, and set your clock or your watch, and usually it's done anyway.
For whatever reason, my man wanted more time checks. So, anyways. All right, sorry.
I get
it's
it.
Gauntlet on 101 ESPN. Nick is back for round 2 after beating Jamie yesterday in baseball. In fact, clean sheet for Nick yesterday in baseball as he knocked off Jamie. So, Nick, first and foremost, welcome back. How are you?
I'm doing well, guys. How are you?
Doing great. Would you like to take on Andrew Marsh today or me?
Let's do Marsh.
Okay, Marsh is up next. So, Marsh, go ahead, spin that wheel and get the hell out of here. And I do mean, I mean that nicely.
I agree. It came from the heart.
Yeah, it certainly did. Go ahead, Marsh. All right, here we go. We got the wheel
spinning.
The wheel,
please.
Marsh is getting out of here. We got the launch codes, which are kept in secret, of course. And we're looking at the wheel. Make sure Marsh is out. And Nick, you said yesterday that you did not want random and that you did want baseball.
Yeah.
Well, today, you got baseball again.
Oh, my.
Let's go.
You got baseball again. So I'm giving Dan the launch codes there.
Sir.
Oops, sorry. Whoop.
There we go.
Watch,
got
there's
him.
There's a staple up there, Dan. So
got it.
Be careful, okay, buddy? I
Put
don't want
my
you
glasses
injured.
on. I got lost last time I did this.
I don't want you scratched like Tyler O'Neill, because of the staple.
Sore knee.
Yeah.
Sore knee.
Nick, you already, back, knee, everything. Nick, you know how this works. You're going to get 4 questions, all baseball. Marsh is going to get the same 4 questions. Every question is worth 2 points unless you need the options. And then that question is worth 1 point. Are you ready?
Yep, let's do it.
All right. Question number 1. How many World Series have the Marlins won since they came into Major League Baseball in 1993? How many World Series have the Marlins won since they came into Major League Baseball in 93?
2. Final answer.
2, final answer. Okay. Question 2. The last time the White Sox won the World Series, which team did they sweep?
Astros, final answer.
Okay. My goodness.
My word.
Cardinals in 05. Astros beat the Cardinals in 05.
Well, they sure did. There was that Roy Oswald.
Yeah, the outpool. Yeah,
we remember that.
You ruined the Pujols home run off Lynch.
Yeah.
In the month of July, Nick, the Cardinals recorded 138 runs, second most in Major League Baseball. Who finished first in runs scored in the month of July?
Ooh, options, please.
Yeah, that's kind of random, but I like it nonetheless. Dodgers, Padres, Cubs. Dodgers, Padres, Cubs are your options.
Let's go with the Dodgers.
Final answer?
Final answer?
No, actually, I'm going to switch to Cubs. Final answer.
Okay. All right. Okay. Sure you don't have any help with you? Just check.
No, I was just thinking of when the Cubs went on those all those runs. I can't remember if it was August or July, but I'm going to go with the Cubs.
I would never accuse you of any kind of outside help in this game. Never. That doesn't happen.
No. Nick's been locked in.
Question 4, please. Which pitcher in Major League Baseball has thrown 2 9-inning shutouts this season? Which pitcher in baseball has thrown 2 9-inning shutouts this season?
Oh, I think I know it, but I'm not exactly sure. Can I get the options?
Sure. You have Sandy Alcantara, also known as Sandy Alcantara, Framber Valdez, or Shohei Ohtani.
You with the Alcantara route, huh?
I'll go Sandy Alcantara. Final answer.
Final answer. Okay.
All right, Sandy Alcantara.
Okay.
All right. I don't know if they can see me, but we're going to welcome back Marsh. Nick, how you feeling?
I feel good about the first two. The second two, okay. I feel okay.
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 All right. You want a
here
baseball?
comes Marshy into the studio.
You want a baseball? The wheel usually delivers nothing but hell to those
Hey, you
that
know
say
what?
they
I'm
want
just
something.
living right.
Yeah, you're living right is right. So, Nick got baseball 2 times in a row. Marsh, your category today is baseball.
Let's do it.
Can I give Marshy a compliment here?
Is it about his hat again?
No.
I was just thinking the same thing.
618 says, since BT left the show, I've really enjoyed what seems like even more Marsh input and commentary. Does an awesome job bringing up topics to the show and added value comments to the discussions.
Well, thank you.
Wow, that was one of the nicest compliments I think anybody's gotten. And the texter's absolutely right,
That
Marsh.
just made my day.
Yeah.
Good. So if you lose this, you won't be upset.
Well,
he's a competitive guy.
He is
very
competitive.
Yeah, on top of bringing the comments daily and doing his thing, Marsh does a
Wearing my
great
hats
job
as well.
Yes.
How did Nick do?
Not bad.
You better pack a lunch.
All right.
All right, Marsh, question 1. How many World Series have the Marlins won since they came into Major League Baseball in 1993?
They have won 2, 1997 and 2003. They were both the wild card team in both of those years.
Marsh, we asked how many times
You
did
don't
they
need
win?
to act like you're so smart here, okay?
Holy smokes, you
2
give them
World
one
Series.
You give
Final
them
answer.
one compliment, Dan, and this is what happens.
Yeah. Zip it, March.
2, final answer.
All right, final answer. Got that down. Okay. I read question 2.
Yes, sir.
The last time the White Sox won the World Series, which team did they sweep?
They swept the Houston Astros in 2005.
Final answer?
Final answer. Do you want more input on that?
No, we just want the
Final
team.
out was to Juan Uribe at shortstop.
Juan Uribe.
Jeff Blum at a whatever.
How many were there? Juan Uribe won a couple of World Series then, huh? One
He
with the
won
White
with the
Sox, and one with the
Giants, too.
Giants.
Yep.
He hit a huge home run in the NLCS in 2010 against the Phillies that sent the Giants to the World Series.
Look at you.
Yeah. In the month of July, the Cardinals recorded 138 runs, second most in Major League Baseball. Who finished first in runs scored in the month of July, Marsh?
In July. All right. Wow, I might need the options here. A couple teams that come to mind are the Braves, the Orioles, and the Texas Rangers come to mind as well. I think Texas went on like a historic run or something, but I'm going to go with the Texas Rangers. Final answer.
Okay.
Okay. Question 4. Which pitcher in Major League Baseball has thrown 2 9-inning shutouts this year? I'll repeat the question. Which pitcher in baseball has thrown 2 9-inning shutouts this season?
2 9-inning shutouts.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, wow. Okay. Well, I remember there being a perfect game and a recent no-hitter. That no-hitter came from, who was it? Framber Valdez. He comes to mind. We're probably going to have to use the options on this one, though.
Sandy Alcantara, Framber Valdez, Shohei Ohtani.
Wow. I don't think.
Time limit, please.
I'm gonna go with Framber. I know he at least has one. I think Ohtani has one too, but I don't know if he has 2 this year. I'm gonna go Framber Valdez. Final answer.
Final answer.
Okay.
Framber Valdez.
Nick versus Marsh. Let's go over these, Dan. We're going to go in order today. We're going to go in order, Dan.
Understood now.
All right.
Because I've messed it up every time we do it.
Just once.
It's on me.
But you know what?
100%.
I took the leadership role in that. I'm just going to let you know.
I'm not very bright.
Order. No,
And
you're very bright.
I fully admit it. It's okay.
Well, you know what? I think you're bright, but you fit well in this show if you're not. All right, question number 1. How many World Series have the Marlins won since they came into Major League Baseball in 1993? Nick, you said 2. Marsh, you said 2. Correct answer is
2.
That would be 2. But both of you did not need the options. Nice job. So
No,
2-2.
that's really nice.
The last time the White Sox won the World Series, which team did they sweep? Nick, you went with the Houston Astros. Marsh, you went with the Houston Astros. Correct answer is
Houston Astros.
But neither of you needed the options. So
How
nice
about
job.
that?
Yeah, 4-4 tie between Marsh
My goodness.
and Nick. And both of you guys, right away, boom, had the answers.
Oh, for sure they did.
In the month of July, the Cardinals recorded 138 runs, second most in Major League Baseball. Who finished first in runs scored in July? Marsh, you rattled off 3 teams. You settled in on the Texas Rangers, who were not an option.
Wow.
We know that because Nick took the options. Nick said the Dodgers. When we said final answer, he said, no Cubs, final answer.
Yeah, he switched it. He
Yeah, the old
switched it.
switcheroo before he said final answer, which by the bylaws is okay.
So the answer is...
Correct answer
Can
is...
I do it now?
Absolutely.
Thank you, Anthony.
Yep.
Cubbies.
The Cubs.
Wow. I didn't even think about that.
So Nick Good switched from the Dodgers to the Cubs. Nick has a 1-point lead now over Marsh. It's
going to hurt me.
In an absolute barn burner. Which pitcher in Major League Baseball has thrown 2 9-inning shutouts this season? You guys both took the options. Nick, you went with Sandy Alcantara.
That's
Marsh,
a good one, yeah.
you went with Framber Valdez. If it's Sandy Alcantara or the other option, which was Shohei Ohtani, Nick wins, and he advances to take on me with a Gauntlet trophy on the line tomorrow. If it's Framber Valdez, well, Marsh just forced a tiebreaker situation. We got to walk off.
Oh, my. Oh, you want me to give the answer? I'm Dan.
Danny Mac. Whoever you are. Which pitcher in Major League Baseball has thrown 2 9-inning shutouts this season?
Framber Valdez.
We got a walk-off.
Oh,
Walk it off.
That's right. We got a walk-off today. 5-5 between Nick and Marsh. This is how it's going to work. I feel like we haven't had a walk-off in a while.
We haven't.
We have not.
So, Nick, you're going to hold off on your answer. Marsh is going to write his answer down, and he's even going to show the camera to make sure everybody knows how legit we are.
Now you can't cheat anymore, can you?
Dan, what the
hell? We've been terrible with tiebreakers. So.
I'm just saying, not that you ever did, but now it's just official. You can't
It's
cheat.
official.
Right.
Yeah.
And actually,
sorry, fellas.
Keep your answer to yourself until we'll reveal it maybe at the end.
Okay.
Just in case Nick is looking, you know.
Well, it is. I think there's a delay on YouTube.
Hey.
Yeah, I'm in my car. We're good.
Okay, we trust you. Here's your question. Marsh, you're going to write down your answer first, then we'll go to Nick. And Nick, you have a little bit of a delay here for you, so once we go to you, we're going to need that answer relatively quickly. We're going to go closest to the pin. Here's your question. Dan, you're on math duty.
Okay.
Before being traded this season, how many games did Jack Flaherty appear in for the Cardinals? Before being traded this season, how many games did Jack Flaherty appear in for the Cardinals? Nick, you're going to hold off on your answer until we go to you. Marsh is writing down his answer. He's going to show Dan and I. Marsh is thinking here.
Come on, Marsh.
Let's go with...
Oh, he's taking a lot of
God,
time.
my marker's not working.
Now he's got marker issues. Now he's blaming his issues on the marker.
Here's a pen, man.
I got it.
Okay.
Okay, that's all right. Just show me at least. Okay, and Dan? Okay.
Yeah, got it.
Nick, what's your answer?
Let's go 120.
That's a lot of games.
We're going games.
Let's repeat the question.
Yeah.
Before traded this season, how many games did Jack Flaherty appear in for the Cardinals?
Yeah, this season.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Let's go 11.
Okay. All right. We've got our answer.
We do have our answer.
We have our winner.
We have a winner.
Dan?
The answer is 20. Marsh went with 18. Marsh is the winner.
Nick.
You have chosen poorly.
You lose. Not today.
Nick, I don't know if it threw you off. Were you thinking innings or were you thinking maybe
I was thinking
games?
career game. I was thinking
Okay.
career game. So I was going 20th season. So if I just would have stuck with 20 for this season, I would have won.
I wondered if you were going to go back with 20. If you did, obviously you would have hit that square in the nuts there. But Nick, sorry, buddy.
That would have hurt.
Yeah. Absolutely.
I wasn't supposed to say who the winner was I? I was supposed to wait until you go, you lose, or whatever that thing is.
No. Well, they still hear it. It's kind of a double thing, you know?
Okay.
So, no, that's all good. Nick, great effort, man. 5.
You lose.
No shame there. You got 3 out of the 4.
Good job, Nick, though. You
That
were
was
solid.
a tough one.
Yeah, that was a tough one. Tough one to lose on. But we do appreciate you listening, and we do appreciate you playing.
Have a good one.
You too. Thanks,
Nick.
sir. All right. Nice shot, Marsh.
Thank
Nice
you,
effort, kid.
Well
I was
done.
doing
Way to
the
go.
math in my hands. I don't know if you're on YouTube. You could see me. I was kind of counting out. We have April, May, June,
Yeah, we get it.
July.
And then you did 4 or 5 starts per, then
or
you took
5.
times, and then you came up with 18.
Jeez,
Got it.
Dan. I have a process here. I'm trying to explain to the people my process.
I think Dan got the process immediately, which was his point. All right. Tyler O'Neill.
I'm giving you trouble, Marsh.
Tyler O'Neill's out of here. By the way, we got Jeremy Rutherford in 10 minutes. So we're going to do a very quick segment talking about with Tyler O'Neill out. Okay, what's the deal now with Dylan Carlson here? Are we going to see an extended run for DC, or is this guy banished forever? That's next on 101 ESPN. It's the Fast Lane on 101 ESPN. Very quick segment. We're going to get to Jeremy Rutherford, and when we don't get to him on time, boy, JR gets steamed. Seems like a nice guy, Dan, but
I've seen it.
He's got a rage to him.
Yeah, you don't want that.
No. So JR coming up pretty soon here. Talk a little Blues hockey.
You know that I've got him on. I'm filling in for the balloon party tomorrow.
Are you?
And JR is going to be in studio for all you Blues fans out there, and we'll get down to a bunch of different stuff with the Blues.
Excellent. Okay.
Yeah.
So, a little Blues hockey coming up 5 minutes.
Yeah.
But, Dan.
Yes, sir.
So I was thinking about this with Tyler O'Neill, and I have become, I feel, in some respects, because of Brandon Kiley, as the supporter, the number one supporter on 101 ESPN of Dylan Carlson. Now, do I believe that Dylan Carlson's going to turn into Andre Ethier? Not really, but I also don't feel like he's had the opportunity to. Some of that is him. He's dealt with the injuries. The production hasn't been there, and that's Kiley's point. Kiley's like, look, he's got 1,000 at-bats, man. What has he done? Fair. I
think he's had 217 at-bats or so this year.
Yeah.
Not a lot.
Hasn't really had the extended run either.
Well, I don't know if you can play him against right-handed pitching, and that would tell me then you're a fourth outfielder because you're going to be pigeonholed against righties. Majority of the league is righties. Mm-hmm. Now, he can play all three outfield spots, so when Walker comes up, you have a lead. And you need a defensive replacement, you can put him in any of those three outfield spots, and he's going to hold his own, if not be better than that.
Sure.
But against right-handed pitching, his average is 197. I don't really care anymore about average because no one else pays attention to it anyway in baseball. What's his OPS? 592. Ouch. That's not good. He has 9 extra base hits hitting from the left side.
Okay.
Total this year. So, when you start looking at what you need to do, do you say to him, do you say to even a Tommy Edman, who's been better, but do you say to Dylan Carlson, if you're going to play, you got to have production on both sides of the plate, or we're going to look at you as just primarily being a right-handed batter?
How do you get my counter to that would be how do you get there if you're not getting at-bats against right-handed
Why not
pitching?
play him down the stretch here?
Thank you. Exactly.
See what you got.
I understand what the numbers are saying. I get that. I'm not saying that Kiley hasn't brought up good points about him, but at 24 years old, I don't think that this kid is anywhere close to being a finished product. I don't think that what his numbers say as of right now, with 1,000 ABs in his career, says that this is a finished product. This is what he's going to be forever.
Let me ask you this, though. If you did a blind resume, and you didn't know that you're talking about Dylan Carlson, and you said, well, here's a guy, he's 24, he got brought up at this time, and this is what he's done. Yep. Would you feel the same way as opposed to knowing it's Dylan Carlson, a lot of hype around him, top pick, all that kind of stuff, and the buildup was big?
No, I'd say this guy
deserved.
This guy can't hit right-handed pitching.
Yeah. I mean, that's the one. Sometimes you just got to do like the blind resume thing and go, what am I truly looking at? Or have I built up expectations so high because of the reputation that preceded him,
right,
that maybe I'm not seeing this clearly? And if you look at it just from the numbers standpoint, and he's been around a little bit now, it's not like he's in year one. This is year 3.
2019. I think we throw out 2020.
Truncated season, so although 21. He was batting cleanup in the final game of that season.
So that's kind of where I'm at. So this kid was a top prospect.
Yeah.
This kid was somebody that you were invested. This was the kid that you said, Goldhead, out of my cold dead hands, right? Okay. This is still the same kid, no? And now he's not worth developing? That's kind of where I'm at least. I know what your point is on the numbers and the blind.
I wonder, though, it's human nature, though, if you're the Cardinals front office, you trade away another outfielder, how would you feel if all of a sudden he goes and boom somewhere else?
Right.
Sometimes it's a different hitting coach. Sometimes it's just a change of scenery. Sometimes it's a different league, or the fact that you're going to play every day, which he comes to the ballpark not knowing that.
Yeah.
And he just heard for weeks about trade rumors around his name.
Yeah.
But that's why I say in the final 2 months of this regular season, under 2 months, I'm playing him every day. I'm playing him every day.
Dan, I completely agree with you. Here's the thing. Here's what we know. Here's the facts. Randy Rosarina did not get an extended look here because of Tyler O'Neill, Harrison Bader, and Dexter Fowler. That's a fact. Adolis Garcia did not get an extended look here because of Dexter Fowler and some of these other guys.
The third base bag.
How many times?
Didn't help that he stumbled around that. But that's not why he's out of here.
Right.
Also, every other team passed on him, too.
Yes.
So that needs to be thrown in there.
What I'm saying here, though, is that how many chances are you going to give to Tyler? Tyler O'Neill has told you repeatedly who he is. He has been vocal about it in nonverbal ways. I know I contradicted myself, but he has. He has told you what sort of player he is. And every time you're like, get his ass in the lineup. This is, you never know. Lightning in the bottle from 21 or whatever it was.
21, yeah.
He has told you he is an injury-prone player that's going to tease you every time he's out there. And that guy, extended run. Why can't we get my guy Dylan Carlson an extended run here?
I think right now, if you're a very good team, and I'm talking about a playoff team, a division-leading team, Dylan Carlson's coming off your bench. He's probably a fourth outfielder.
Right now, yes.
And at this point in his career, and I hate to pigeonhole a guy and say, well, 24, you're a fourth outfielder. On a very good team and where he's at in his production, that's where he'd be right now. But I'd say you give him the last 2 months, play him against the right-handed pitching, and just say, don't look over your shoulder. Let's see what you got. We're going to give you this run.
I agree. All right.
And see what you got.
JR now is going to be ticked. There's no doubt.
No question about that.
All right, Jeremy Rutherford, a little Blues talk, probably yelling at us as well. Next year on 101 ESPN. Stalter back with you for Auto Centers Nissan of Herculaneum. One spot, one location. Auto Centers Nissan Herculaneum has over 700 vehicles ready to go, ready for you to test drive, ready for you to look at, ready to talk about financing options. And they do have financing options for everyone that walks through the door at Auto Centers Nissan Herculaneum. Why is that important? Because if you don't have the financing, how are you going to get the vehicle, right? And if you feel like, man, I got bad credit, I got a bad situation, I'm worried about the financing, and who's not at this time in this current client? Well, if you need a ride, you need a car, Auto Centers Nissan Herculaneum, they're going to find you the best financing. They're going to find you the lowest rates and make sure that you can drive off their lot feeling thrilled about the car, certainly, but also thrilled about how you're going to afford that car on a monthly basis. They also have the 30-day return promise within 30 days. If you need to bring the vehicle back for any reason, Auto Centers Nissan Herculaneum will give you that refund. No problem, no questions asked. And they also have free nationwide lifetime warranty on all new Nissans. It's all courtesy of Auto Centers Nissan Herculaneum. Tell them Stalter sent you.
101 ESPN Sports Center.
I'm Andrew Marsh. It's time for a Sports Center update. Driven by Johnny Londoff Chevrolet and Johnny Londoff Autoplex. The Cards lose last night by a final score of 4-2 to the Tampa Bay Rays. Dakota Hudson on the mound going up against Jalen Beeks tonight as the Cards get back in action in Tampa. 5:40 first pitch. We have Jeremy Rutherford from The Athletic, our Blues insider, joining us next. I'm Andrew Marsh, and the Sports Center update is driven by Johnny Londoff. Funny roads and shop 24/7 at londoff.com and londoffautoplex.com. Are you kidding me?
It's time for the Rutherford Report on 101 ESPN.
Anything you folks want to know about the fascinating world of pro hockey, here we go.
All right, let's head to our celebrity line. We have Jeremy Rutherford, our Blues insider with The Athletic, with Dan McLaughlin, filling in for Jamie Rivers. I'm Anthony Stalter. What's up, JR?
Not too much. Never, ever ticked, guys. Come on. Love you guys. I'm on with the Fast Lane. I'm going to sit in with Danny tomorrow for an hour.
That's right.
Talk some Blues hockey and get a chance to chat with you guys now 5 minutes late.
Well, you already know we're not professional, but we still want to apologize when we're not. So sorry about that, JR. But anyways, hey, the Anatomy of a Draft was aired the other night. What'd you think? What was the most interesting aspect to you?
Yeah, I liked it. The most interesting aspect, Anthony, to me was we talked to Doug Armstrong how many times? 3 or 4 times before the draft, and he said he would be shocked if they did not go up to the stage for the 10th pick and make that selection. And you see in the Anatomy of the Draft that the Blues are very close to trading out of that 10th spot. Going back to 13, it looked like they had a deal maybe with Buffalo to move back. Look, they had a top 7 that they were not going to move off of. Dalibor Dvorsky was in that top 7. He slipped to number 10, and they took him, and they got a great player. But great job by the Blues on that documentary. I know that, some people said there isn't a ton of insight in those types of pieces, but I think that the Blues don't have to do that. They don't have to give you any detail what they're talking about at that draft table. And so for them to offer the nuggets that they did and kind of bring that perspective, I thought was really big on their part. And I thought for somebody who covers the team all the time, told me a few things.
Like what? Let's hear it. What did you learn?
Well, besides the Dvorsky thing, you look at the situation where behind the scenes they have so many scouts, including guys like Keith Kachuk, advisors like Al McInnes, and then a number of part-time and full-time scouting guys, Dan, that get to offer their opinion. And the one thing that I've heard from these guys in talking to them about Doug Armstrong is that he really listens to their voice and he really gives them a say in the matter. Sure, he's the boss. Sure, he's the guy who's steering the ship the night of the draft. But they really lean on their cross scouts to bring them the names of the players that they like, and they fight for these guys. And these meetings get pretty heated, which we also saw in the Anatomy of the Draft in terms of where guys like guys to go in the draft. They want to have their say, and I think Doug Armstrong allows them to do that.
How big is that too, JR? When you don't have a GM or a president of hockey operations that is surrounded by yes men, but guys that will actually pound the table for a player that they like, or maybe it's a conversation about philosophy, but there's some healthy pushback and disagreement.
Well, I think there has to be, and that's just any industry, any sport, and particularly something when you're talking about evaluating 17, 18-year-old hockey players. I mean, you lean on the scouts because those are the guys who are driving the thousands and thousands of miles each winter in the icy conditions to go watch these guys play, and they have a vested interest in these players. So sure, if they latch onto a guy and they really want the team to pick him, are they going to stick up for their guy? Yeah, for sure. But also in talking to people for this piece that I wrote about the Anatomy of the Draft guys, they really come together when it comes to which player makes the most sense for the St. Louis Blues. So, again, whether it be Hall of Famers like an Al McInnes or it be a no-name scout that fans are just seeing his face and name for the first time in this documentary, all these people have an equal say. And that's why you're seeing guys like Jordan Kyrou, like Robert Thomas. You see them in the Blues uniform at Enterprise Center, but a lot of work went in behind the scenes to get these players to St. Louis.
JR, typically, how long does it take in your experience to get a 7th overall pick, a 10th overall pick? I don't care, 20th, 21st round picks. How long, generally speaking, does it take, or is it all based on individual organizational style, the individual of the player, all those things that come into it?
Yeah, Danny Mac, I think a combination of those things, we latch on to what Doug Armstrong said several months ago when he said, hey, 10th overall pick, it's going to take 36 months for this guy to make an impact. Now, we want to differentiate between the word impact, which probably means putting up some points and kind of leaning on that guy, and in the lineup. There's a difference between, bringing in a guy, Robert Thomas, a couple of years ago, played on that Stanley Cup team, where those first few months or even that first season until he got to the playoffs, maybe he wasn't making a strong impact, but he was in the lineup at a young age. So I think with a guy like Dvorsky, Dan, he's got a 2-year deal with the team in Sweden. He can leave at any time. I would expect that he'd play this next season in Sweden, probably the full year. And then there's a chance he could come over next year. So you could pencil him into the Blues lineup in 2 years, I think. And in terms of making an impact, like Doug said, probably more like 36 months.
Jeremy Rutherford, our Blues insider with The Athletic, joining us right now on the Fast Lane on 101 ESPN. Dan McLaughlin filling in for Jamie Rivers. I'm Anthony Stalter. JR, one of the other interesting aspects I thought of the anatomy of a draft was when Doug Armstrong asked everybody in the room about where they draft Dvorsky. And some guys say, well, we think that he's one of the top 7 players. We think he could get to 10. I think the amateur scout for the European group for the Blues said, I'd go up and get him. I would trade up for him. And it kind of surprised Armstrong. The draft, as much as we want to believe that any draft, NFL, NHL, whatever, is like this perfect science, it really isn't. And you're gathering as much information as possible to have an idea of where guys could go. How much luck goes into drafting the right players at the right time?
Yeah, just a ton of it. It really does. Because you go to that number 6 pick, it's the Arizona Coyotes. They kind of take what the people in the business call a jumper. They go with the defenseman at number 6, and that kind of changed things, I think, for the Blues. And so to kind of further your point, there's a scene in the anatomy of the draft where they're talking to the European scout, Jan Volpat, and he says, personally, I would trade up to get Dvorsky, but I think we can still get him at number 10. So those are the types of comments that sit in Doug Armstrong's mind on draft night, and he's sitting there thinking, do I need to trade up to get him? Wait a minute. Arizona just took a jumper. They took the defenseman at number 6. That means we're going to have a chance at Dvorsky. And then you see in the footage, Doug Armstrong says, okay, if Leonard and Dvorsky go at 8-9, then we're going to trade down. We're going to move back from our 10 pick to number 13. But when the jumper goes at number 6, Dvorsky slides to number 10, and the Blues take him. So it is a crapshoot. You can sit there and do all the planning you want, have all the meetings you want with all these amateur scouts, all the Zooms you want, and you don't know until you get there to draft night when a team like Arizona takes a guy that really nobody expected at number 6. And then still, even at that, you have Washington and Detroit ahead of you that could have taken Dvorsky. They didn't, and now he's a St. Louis Blues. So a lot fell the Blues' way, I believe, that draft night.
Trevor Nickerson and the Blues video department, they do just an incredible job of a lot of this, and the Stanley Cup stuff that they did, going back with the Cup for a day with a player was awesome. I am curious, though, JR, I don't know if you know the answer to this, but how much were they allowed to show and how much was left on the editing room floor just to make sure that various things don't get out into the public? And I think anybody that is reasonable can understand that. It's trade secrets. It's things maybe you don't want out there. But how much do you think was left for the general public to digest, and how much do you think was left on the editing room floor?
Yeah, Dan, first of all, great job by Trevor Nickerson, Mike Crusoe, and that Blue Note Productions crew. They do an outstanding job. Now, keep in mind, they're responsible not only for projects like this, Dan, but also like the David Perron salute, the tribute video when he comes back to St. Louis for the first time. So they've done an outstanding job. But in terms of how much gets in the piece that, fans want to see and how much gets left on the editing room floor, I mean, let's be real here. They can't show everything. And so in writing the article that I did for The Athletic about the documentary, yeah, you talk to people, and they say that everything runs through Doug Armstrong. And, of course, if he's going to approve a project like this and he's going to give the green light for them to film the meetings, then he's going to have final say at what gets in there. So, yeah, not everything got in there, but I think the Blues gave more of a glimpse into what they were thinking with that 10th overall pick and some of the other things than probably most organizations would have done. And so I think you look at that situation, there's got to be communication between the video people and the general manager. If they're going to continue to do projects like that, they certainly want to be on the up and up, and that was the case here.
Good stuff, JR. We appreciate it, man. And we're looking forward to you and Dan McLaughlin tomorrow morning on the balloon party right after the opening drive at 10 o'clock.
Yeah, sounds good. We'll see you in the morning, Danny. Give me that wake-up call. It's the off season. I'm not used to getting up that early.
Oh, sure, buddy. No problem. And I bet you're I bet you're ready to go for training camp. It's not that far away.
Let's not start talking about that yet.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, we'll get down to it tomorrow. I look forward to it.
We'll do that. All right. Thanks, guys.
See you, Jared. Thank you. That's Jeremy Rutherford at JP Rutherford is where you can follow him on Twitter. Great stuff from The Athletic.
I love
as
JR.
always. So do I. 10 to 11 tomorrow morning, the balloon party. Dan McLaughlin, Jeremy Rutherford. So
Yes,
you guys
sir.
are going to have some great Blues coverage again tomorrow.
He'll be in studio. And I knew JR, by the way, when we both were covering the Arena League here in St. Louis.
No kidding.
We were the only two. And I'm not kidding. He was a stringer at the Post, and I was getting post-game sound for KMOX, and we were together and getting yelled at by various members of the front office from the Arena League. And we're like, wait a minute. Why are you yelling at us? We're the only guys covering you. But that's the way it went. Whatever. We'll talk Blues tomorrow.
Yeah.
It'll be exciting.
We're looking forward to it. All right. We got the Sports Six-Pack next. So if you got a question, 314-399-9646 is the Air Comfort Service text line. So if you got a question for Dan or I, great. Send it there. We'll do that next in the Fast Lane on 101 ESPN.
It's time for the Fast Lane to answer your sports questions.
I want to ask you a bunch of questions, and I want to have them answered immediately.
Asking me all these weird questions.
Answer the question.
Answer the question.
Answer me!
The Sports Six-Pack is refreshed by Maggie O'Brien's, your go-to Irish pub in St. Louis for over 42 years.
With Dan McLaughlin, I'm Anthony Stalter. It's Fastlane on 101 at ESPN. Danny Mac doing a great job, as always, filling in for Jamie Rivers. Here's Andrew Marsh with some questions.
Question one, please.
Question number one.
All right, Dan, you are filling in tomorrow for the balloon party. We get a text from the 314. Dan, are you going to open the show tomorrow saying yes, yes, yes? In case you don't know, that's what Tim does.
Oh, is that right? Well, as much as I listen, I should have realized that. Probably not. You
got to put your own spin on it.
Yeah, I got to. Thank you, Marshy. I was looking for the right ways to put that out there. No, I don't think I will. And again, I love listening to the balloon party. What's he say? Question two, please.
Yes.
I got you.
Yes.
Okay. Question two, please.
How does it? Okay, so
Dan wants the second question.
Dan will just hold off. Jeez. What does I'm trying to think how Beacon Ferrario open up.
I don't know. You open it up with "Let's get nasty" on a whatever day it is.
Yeah, we get nasty.
So we get nasty.
Yeah.
Jamie,
do you know what that line is from?
No.
I didn't necessarily intend it to be from this, but it's when Rube Baker in Major League 2 says, "Let's get nasty, Ricky. Let's get nasty."
I should have realized that.
I think Vaughn comes in from the bullpen or something. He's like, "You mean Rick Vaughn?" Rube Baker goes behind the dish and he just goes, "Let's get nasty, Ricky. Let's
Is that
get
your
nasty."
favorite baseball movie?
The original, yes.
Yes.
And I don't mind Major League 2. I know some people pan it,
I
but
liked
man,
it too.
there's a lot of funny ass lines in that.
I think The Natural might be my favorite.
It's a great movie.
That's a great movie.
It's phenomenal.
A classic.
Do you know what I liked about it too? It wasn't like so cheesy where you're looking at actors trying to be baseball players.
That's the tough part.
I thought they did a good job with the baseball look of it.
Mm-hmm.
That wasn't great, but I thought it was a lot better than others that you watch in sports movies. Kevin Costner in... if I could have one more catch in my
Field of Dreams.
Field of Dreams.
I thought you were going with
Bull Durham.
For Love of the Game, I've seen like 8,000 times
I like
too.
that one.
I do too.
John C. Reilly is the catcher, right?
Yes.
Is he?
Yeah, I think so.
Yes.
Oh, wow.
Which is so
I've only
odd to see
seen
him.
that once, I think.
Yeah, I mean, because you think of him and then you think of Boogie Nights. So, I mean, obviously there's one side of it and then the other.
I think it's Step Brothers.
That's the other one. He's a stepbrother. I watched that the other night.
Talladega Nights.
That's a great comedy.
Oh, that's hilarious.
Yeah.
Question two, please.
Question two, please.
Question number two.
From the 816, if you were to stop by a veggie/fruit stand on the side of the road, what would you buy?
Do we have to go down this road again with me?
Yeah.
I don't eat a tomato.
Oh, that's right.
Okay, I haven't had a pickle. Question three, please. I don't do that.
I don't understand the pickle thing. I don't.
Just be quiet about it.
You love cheeseburgers, man. Put a pickle on a cheeseburger.
I like the cheese in the burger. That'll be fine. With a little ketchup, too. And a piece of lettuce. I'll put a piece of lettuce.
Did you just do the John Miller? That'd be fine.
No, that I used to do. That'll be fine. But John Miller, I'll take the burger and slap it on another burger. And then you have cheese and a little ketchup and then slap the bun. And once you have that, you've got yourself a burger. It's a cheeseburger. Next pitch, a ball.
It's the best. It's like the best John Miller.
The adult version of explaining how to make a s'more from the Sandlot.
Yeah, exactly.
John Miller is awesome.
Man, he's so good.
He is so good. I closed my. I remember covering a Cardinal playoff game in San Francisco.
Mm-hmm.
They put the media out in the bleachers in left center, and the sun or something was in my eyes. I just closed my eyes and had the game tuned into radio as I'm at the event and just listened to him call the game. It's poetry, man. He's amazing. He is amazing. I miss him on Sunday Night Baseball.
I was just about to say, I grew up with him and Joe Morgan on Sunday Night Baseball, and they would be a part of
Made
the.
It big, didn't they, Marshy?
They did, and it hasn't been the same since, in my opinion.
I agree,
but I think that's because every game's on TV. So if your game, like maybe you might get 3 games a week. For when I grew up, you might get 1. If they were on Saturday Baseball with Vin Scully on NBC, that was a big deal. Your team was being showcased. But now, I think it's kind of lost its luster because every game's on TV.
Yeah, that's a good point.
I feel the same about other announcers. Like when I think of hockey and ESPN, I immediately think of Gary Thorne.
Yeah,
and he's not a part of it either.
Yeah.
So
love Gary Thorne. Great hockey and baseball announcer. And bowling. I mean, he did the famous call of
Big Earn?
No, not Big Earn. He's my favorite character, though.
Was it the who do you think you are?
Who do you think you are?
I am,
yeah. Did he get it?
I didn't know he was a part of that.
I think it's Gary Thorne's call. You have to look. We'll see on YouTube if we can find it.
Speaking of Oriole announcers, he used to do the Orioles games.
Oh, did he?
Yeah, I believe so. Gary Thorne. He was part of the Orioles.
Oh, he did
broadcast.
He did that for years.
Yeah, I loved watching his baseball calls because growing up, I always thought he was just strictly hockey. But then
he did the Mets for a number of years.
Yeah, one day I stumbled upon him doing baseball calls. I'm like, gosh, this guy is so electric.
He's awesome.
The more you know.
There you go.
Question
3, please.
3, please.
Question number 3.
All right, guys, we were just talking about baseball movies from the 980. Guys, what's the greatest football movie ever made? Yes, I have to say Any Given Sunday.
Okay, now going back to things being either not good enough or, in this case, in sports, totally exaggerated.
Yeah.
That one's, I mean, you got a guy in a chainsaw cutting through a car.
If Oliver Stone could just tail it down, you know what I mean? But I will say, as somebody that did play the game, not the NFL level, okay, not, but as somebody that did play the game, to watch the football scenes and the way that Oliver Stone did the football scenes for Any Given Sunday, I do think they were incredible. Like through the quarterback's vision, he's looking at like the robber the one time, and he's calling out the call. Like, I thought the speed in which, as best as he could, to capture the speed of the game and everything, how everything's flying around, the contact, I think he did a great job. Everything else, though, you're like, okay, just can we
dial it down a little bit?
Dial it down. But the greatest football movie of all time, of course, is The Program.
The Program.
Yeah. Have you seen JFK?
I have.
I mean, the way he cuts that movie with back and showing the footage of JFK getting hit, and then going to Kevin Costner, who's the lawyer, and then it's really well done. I mean, that's pretty awesome too.
When they're shooting the scene in which Costner and the other lawyer are in the book depository.
Oh, it's awesome.
And they're talking about how Lee Harvey, why didn't he take the shot coming down the one street and instead took a different shot with the tree there and all that. That was pretty impressive.
Yeah. I enjoyed that movie.
I think for me, as weird of a movie it is, but the Longest Yard, how they incorporated former players.
The remake?
Yeah. I like when they have, the movie itself is...
It's fine. It's fun.
It's a fun movie, but I like when we're talking about the football aspect of things. They had former players in there.
Yeah, they had Michael Irvin.
Yeah,
who's an unbelievable athlete is Nelly. Holy smokes! I mean, he looked like he could have been a running back.
100%.
Yeah. All right, let's carry over these questions.
Okay,
all right.
We only answered 3.
Well, then we owe another 3 to these people.
Darn tootin'.
Dan McLaughlin filling in for
tootin'.
Jamie Rivers. He went
Let's do it.
Texas route there.
I sure did. Friday Night Lights.
Now that is a great. The movie was good.
Great show.
The show is one of my favorites.
Coach Taylor.
Coach Taylor. No,
the original book with Buzz Bissinger.
No,
I read that in school. Actually,
it's awesome.
My senior year.
Buzz Bissinger was a unique character. Obviously, I got to know. I know we got to go. I got to know him when he covered the Cardinals. So he covered the Cardinals to write a book.
No kidding. Oh, with, what was it? The Tony La Russa.
It was Tony La Russa book.
Something in October, 7 nights in October.
7 nights in August, 3 nights in August, 3 nights in August, I think. But he was on every trip with us.
Really?
All access. Tony gave him all access.
No kidding.
It was, and he mentions me in the book, which I'm very proud of,
That's
saying,
awesome.
hey, I was a help to him and all that kind of stuff. But he is a really unique individual. And he wrote a book about one of his children that was stricken with something. I can't remember, and I should, and I apologize for not knowing it. But it's a meaningful book. The guy is an incredible writer. Like, just to write Friday Night Lights, to do a baseball book, to do a caring book about his son.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool.
That is pretty cool.
Neat dude.
Talented, no doubt. All right.
Yep.
The rest of the Sports Six-Pack next on 101 ESPN.
It's time for the Fast Lane to answer your sports questions.
I want to ask you a bunch of questions, and I want to have them answered immediately.
Asking me all these weird questions.
Answer the question.
Answer the question.
Answer me!
The Sports Six-Pack is refreshed by Maggie O'Brien's, your go-to Irish pub in St. Louis for over 42 years.
For your time check is brought to you by Clarkson Jewelers, an officially licensed Rolex jeweler, with Dan McLaughlin filling in for Jamie Rivers. I'm Anthony Stalter. Andrew Marsh, let's continue this.
Question 4, please.
Question number 4.
By the way, we were getting a lot of text. Remember the Titans. We didn't mention Remember the Titans. Another great movie.
Yes.
Kind of
unnecessary roughness.
Did we mention
necessary roughness? Good too.
Did we mention the program?
Well, we did, but you can't mention it too much, Marsh.
That's true.
Yeah.
It's very true.
Alvin, they don't make them like they did back in the day when it comes to Alvin Mack, greatest linebacker.
Somebody brings up, by the way, a great point here. This is on, I can't tell the number, whatever. But it says, I'll tell you guys, a great football book is The Right Kind of Heroes about Bob Shannon and the East St. Louis Flyers and the national power they became. It's an awesome book. Bob Shannon, longtime coach at East St. Louis, coached at CBC High School for a while. But you talk about an underserved community with the children that are over there in East St. Louis and being able to make them a national power through discipline, through hard work, all that kind of stuff. Number one in the country. Awesome book written by, I believe, Kevin Horrigan, the old sport at the St. Louis Post-Dispatch for so many years. But the socioeconomic parts of it as well, in addition to football, it's well worth your time to read it. It's really done. It's really well done. Okay, sorry. Question 4, 5.
Question 4, please.
Question 4, please.
From the 618, if the LA Angels don't get Ohtani signed this offseason, would they be forced to a rebuild? If so, would this be a good time for the Cards to make an Arenado-type trade to get Mike Trout?
No.
No on which part?
So what does Trout have left? He signed a 10-year, $375 million?
Yeah.
No, 400 or something
So
like that.
8 years left, maybe?
Yeah, you already got some outfielders. I'll take the pitching instead. Give me some pitching. I don't think you need to have 3 guys making $25 million a year. I'll take one and then supplement the rest of my rotation. But and Mike Trout ain't going anywhere either. I wouldn't think, unless he totally demands that he wants out of L.A. and getting away from the Angels. I don't see, he's their franchise player. He's been the face of that franchise for over a decade. The other thing is he's always hurt. I mean, I don't think he'd want that. And he's on the back end, the back 9 probably of his career, which has been prodigious in so many different ways, but I don't think you'd want to do that. I'd take him, but I don't think you're going to get him.
He's got 7 more years left on his deal at $35.4 million per year, every year.
Yeah, and you're already paying Arenado 30 plus. You got Goldie, who's going to be up. They're going to have him finish as a Cardinal, is my suspicion. And the fact that Trout has been injury prone the last few years, no, I don't see that happening.
Still, you could lose every game like 13-10, though.
Yeah, probably.
It's kind of intriguing.
Yeah, well, you put him in that lineup.
Yeah.
Arenado, Goldie, Mike Trout.
Yeah, no pitching. You
Contreras,
could become the Angels.
Walker. Yeah, that's exactly right. You better get some pitching.
Isn't it interesting, though? Become the Angels?
No. Give me some pitching.
Okay, I'm with you on that one. Yeah, I'll also say no. Pitching, please.
Pitching, period.
Question number 5.
5, please.
From the 314, guys, I looked at the last couple of Cardinal games, and I'm not going to say that they have quit on the season, but is it just me, or have you guys noticed a lack of fight, grit, and overall energy with this team?
I actually noticed that, in all seriousness, in May.
In May?
Yeah.
I think I just noticed.
Maybe that's not fair.
There's just June. When you get rid of Flaherty, Hicks, DeYoung, Montgomery, Stratton, it's not a lack of fire. I think it's looking around and going, that's a lack of talent. You know what I mean? Those are guys that could help you win some games, and now you're stuck where I still like the lineup. I think the lineup's very good, but they just don't have pitching.
Yeah.
And so they're going to have to execute. Like last night's a great example. You're going to have to execute pretty much perfect baseball to win a lot of these games, especially if you're tight in games. Your bullpen has got to execute to have a 1-2-3 or get a ground ball double play, those kind of things.
Yeah.
They don't have that right now. So this could be a long 6 to 7 weeks before this baby's over.
Let me rephrase. I think, Dan, that they tried incredibly hard early on. The effort has always been there. I think they look like a team that didn't have a lot of energy because they're like grinding the bats to sawdust every single night.
Also, when you lose, you don't look like that too.
Very true. And you can't be running around like Newt can't be grinding on everybody when you're losing.
Yes.
But I saw a lack of overall like energy and excitement. right around April 14th or so.
I would say
halfway through April, I thought this team had no energy.
Well, the other part of it, too, is that the Cardinals have 48 games remaining. And I was doing some numbers on this, and the offense is starting to go the other way, where you say, okay, you got a pretty good offensive team. You should be able to score some runs, stay in some games, even if the pitching isn't there. So they've lost 12 of 17. They have scored 3 runs or fewer 11 times. Okay? Yeah. 3 runs or fewer 11 times in dropping 12 of 17. When you don't hit, and I say it all the time, and it is cliche, but when you don't hit and you don't score runs, you look flat anyway.
True.
And I don't care if you got Arenado, Goldie, Mike Trout, and Ohtani in your lineup. You don't score, you look flat.
Right.
The other part of this, too, is when you trade away good talent and talent that gives you a chance to win, and you walk in the clubhouse and you don't see him anymore, it's human nature. You're like, man, this has been a kick in the gut.
Yeah, what happened?
And I think that's part of what's going on here, too.
Yeah.
I really do.
I can't believe, though, that you, of all people, Dan, would highlight the lack of run scoring and say to our last listener that you don't want Trout. I find it embarrassing.
Question 5, please. I'm embarrassed for you.
Question 6, please.
Question 6.
Is it
question number 6?
All right.
Guys from the 314, I watched Hard Knocks last night. And the entire episode was essentially about Aaron Rodgers. His teammates raved about him. Mm-hmm. Has Aaron Rodgers been negatively portrayed in the media, or is he just putting on a show?
I think he did it to himself, don't you?
I think Aaron Rodgers is putting on a show.
Absolutely.
I think Aaron Rodgers, you can't eliminate the last 10 plus years of what you've seen from Aaron Rodgers, all because he shows up to New York. And he's playing like the savior role now, and he's playing nice guy. He's the same guy that didn't show up last year for training camp and all, or not training camp, but camps, and his young receivers were all coming in. Wasn't there? Same guy that looked almost dismissive of his own head coach and Mike McCarthy multiple years in Green Bay. The same guy that went into the darkness retreat, came out and said, you know what, I felt like retiring, but then I heard what the Packers did, and now I'm not going to retire. Like, this is the same dude.
Yep.
Family reportedly wants nothing to do with him. Former girlfriends have come out and said that the guy's basically a narcissist. Like, no, I think that he's putting on a show.
I do too. He understands he's in the biggest media market in the world.
Certainly.
And he's letting them eat out of the palm of his hands.
Yeah.
And by the way, I bet he has a monster season.
I don't think he will.
I do. I
think
still
so,
think
too.
I think he'll perform at a high level. He's still elite. 2 years ago, by God, he was the MVP.
I think he fell off a year ago.
Well, last year, I think he just cashed it in. I think he was just playing for a check. He was upset, frustrated, all the things that you talked about. And now that he's got a new surroundings, probably a jolt in his game. Now, again, you got to have the players around you to make you good at that position more times than not. But I would imagine that he has a big year.
Worst offensive line.
I don't care.
Worst coaching.
Debatable.
I felt like whatever I was going to say there, you're going to say debatable, and I love it.
Whatever you say, Sean Payton.
Sean Payton's incredible, and you know that, Marsh. You know that.
He was pretty good in his cameo in Home Team.
Yeah, he was. Hey, we missed you around here, Coach. That's what he said as he mopped the floors. All right. It's Fast Lane on 101 ESPN. What's trending is next.
What's trending in the world of sports? The Fast Lane has you covered. What's trending now?
Brought to you by Goodwill. Donate to Goodwill and get a half-price Cardinals ticket voucher.
Welcome back to the Fast Lane here on 101 ESPN. Anthony Stalter, Dan McLaughlin filling in for Jamie Rivers. I'm Andrew Marsh, and it's time for What's Trending. Guys, a tough loss last night for the Cards. 4-2. We talked about Miles Michaelis being pulled from the game in the 8th inning. However, it's a new day, and Dakota Hudson is on the mound. Thoughts about Dakota Hudson? Can he replicate what we saw last week?
Oh, is that me?
Well, consistency has been his thing, right? You just don't know if you're going to get Dakota Hudson that pitched well last week, or if it's going to be a 5 2/3 with 4 runs allowed and 2 strikeouts and 3 walks. I mean, that's kind of Dak. His ERA has always been pretty good.
I would just love to see him just throw sinker after sinker after sinker after sinker.
Not?
You know what I mean?
Have these guys just beat the ball into the ground?
Got great movement.
Yep.
Great movement. I don't know, man. It's interesting. He came off of Tommy John, and it was up and down last year. And then this year, you implement the fact that you have a quicker system to make guys pitch when he was one of the slowest workers in baseball.
Good call.
I don't know. All those can be factors. Usually it takes you a year and a half to come back from Tommy John. Mm-hmm. You know, this is a former top pick that they had. I still believe in him, that he's got good stuff. But this is another one of those players that you pencil him in every 5th day and say, okay, show us what you got. Don't look over your shoulder. Matthew Liberatore, don't look over your shoulder. You're going to get the ball, good, bad, ugly. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
But show us what you got. Don't look over your shoulder. Because I think that's part of what's happening, too, is it's kind of like a guy when they get a chance to play, a position player. Dylan Carlson would come to mind. And you've got other options. And all of a sudden, a righty's on the mound, and he's like, oh, man, if I don't get 2 hits or 3 hits, I'm not in the lineup tomorrow.
Right.
I think for sometimes these pitchers that have been spot guys, spot starters, it's like, man, if I don't deal tonight, I'm going back to Memphis. Mm-hmm. So it's added pressure that you put on yourself. And I would say for these guys, tell them, hey, you're going to get the ball, relax, and let it rip.
Yeah.
See what you got.
Yeah. Dan, I completely agree. I think that moving forward, Gersh kind of mentioned this the other day, too. These guys are fighting for spots, or they're fighting for opportunities. One of the only good things in a down season is that you can give guys a little bit more of a runway here without necessarily counting on the results, or determining the results, because unfortunately, the wins and losses don't matter at this point.
No. And so it's opportunity, and that's the one way you have to look at it. It is opportunity for some of these guys to play. Gorman against lefties. Carlson against righties. These are things that I would look at. You got nothing to lose. You already lost.
Gorman's an everyday player. Like, let's go here. You want this guy to be a stud? You want this guy to?
Well, here's the thing
face
too.
Lefties.
If you trade Edman, or if you traded Donovan, which maybe one of those guys would be on the block this offseason.
Yeah.
Then you got to look at, if Mason Wynn is your shortstop, who's playing second base. You're not going to take Nolan Gorman's bat out of the lineup.
No.
So let him play.
Agreed.
In all situations.
Mm-hmm.
And I think as we go further along, I bet we're going to see more and more of that. Yeah. I'd be surprised if we didn't.
I hope so. We do need a new Beat the Streak contestant. So if you want to play Beat the Streak, just text in BTS to 314-399-9646. Again, BTS to 314-399-9646. Who did our guy have yesterday? He was very confident.
He had Tommy Edman.
Stupid A, Tommy Edman, letting everybody down. You know what you got to do? You got to go with the Ray.
I mean, that's the thing to do these days.
Marsh, how'd you do yesterday?
I got a hit.
Yeah, you did.
You did too.
Yeah.
How'd
Jamie do?
He also got a hit. Yeah.
Okay.
Anyways. So these past couple of weeks, we've been talking about Dalvin Cook, where he's going to land, which team he could be playing for this season. Kareem Hunt, also running back that is available. He met with the Saints. He also just met with the Indianapolis Colts. Adam Schefter tweeted about a little over an hour ago, free agent running back Kareem Hunt is leaving Indianapolis without a deal. Per source, Colts made an offer, but the two sides were unable to reach an agreement, as there is still, in quotes, continued interest from other teams. I wanted to ask you guys, with Dalvin Cook and Kareem Hunt not being on a team, how much will that affect their production this upcoming year not being in camp?
Depends on what team they go to.
Mm-hmm.
So if Dalvin Cook winds up in, let's just say, Miami, I think the production will be fine. If he winds up with the Jets, his production will be based on when Breece Hall's available, because Breece Hall tore his knee
Think about the guy handing it off to him, though.
Yes, that's true. Aaron Rodgers, one of the greatest ever. He's going to have the biggest year ever, according to Dan.
I didn't say best ever. He's going to have a good year. All-pro, maybe go for MVP.
It doesn't
lead the
fit.
Jets back to the playoffs.
Doesn't fit my narrative, Dan.
So I understand that.
Yeah.
Go right ahead, please.
Dalvin Cook, to me, Dalvin Cook is still a stud. Kareem Hunt is somebody that will be an RB2 in any situation that he winds up in. I think he'd be a really good fit in New Orleans. Alvin Kamara is going to be out for a couple of weeks during the season. I think Kareem Hunt can, balance that out, both with, the current guys they have, as well as when Alvin Kamara gets back. But I don't think it matters for running backs as much. Mm-hmm. Save them some wear and tear. They're not going to play in preseason anyways. To me, Hunt is not hearing the deal that he wants. That's why he left New Orleans, and that's why he left Indianapolis. So his market, he has overstated his market, whatever it is. Mm-hmm. He has overvalued his market.
Maybe like Vladimir Tarasenko did.
Absolutely. So maybe he's seeking a 2-year deal with somebody, and they're only offering him one. Dalvin Cook, I think, is waiting for the absolute right situation. Mm-hmm. I hope he winds up in Miami. I think he'd be a really good fit with the Dolphins.
There's a lot of people in this town that aren't too fond of John Mozeliak and how he goes about things with the front office. What? I'm sure a lot of fans in New York are not too happy with the way that Brian Cashman goes about things.
They want him done. They want him outie.
So according to NJ.com's Bob Clappish, Cashman will be retained beyond this season, with a source telling Clappish that the prospect of owner Hal Steinbrenner firing the longtime GM, in quotes, isn't even on the table. It's not up for discussion.
Dan, I hate to put you on the spot here, but
go ahead.
You know more about the league than I do. Cashman and Mo, they got to be the two longest tenured presidents / GMs.
Yeah,
right?
I was trying to just think of that. Who would be longer? I'm going through.
Like Brian Sabian was with the Giants forever, but his run ended a couple of years ago, and now I think he's back with the Yankees.
Jed Hoyer was with Theo Epstein in Chicago.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Tony Williams is no longer there with the White Sox. Dombrowski went from Boston to Philly. He was with Miami for a while. Long time. Was he architect of some of those teams?
Maybe Andrew Friedman with the Dodgers. He's been there probably about 10 years now.
No, because it was Farhad
Zahidi.
Yeah.
Who was with the Giants.
And then did he go to L.A. for 1 year and then the Giants? Or was it with Tampa Bay and then went to the...
I think Farhan Zaidi was the GM for the Dodgers, and Friedman was the president.
Okay.
That's the only way the Giants got him, because the Giants made him president.
Right.
Or else they wouldn't have had an opportunity.
Billy Beane, I'm sure, is...
Oh, geez, yeah.
Billy Beane's...
I forgot about him.
But his role, though, has changed.
Yeah.
To where I don't know if he's kind of like a senior VP and overlooks some stuff, but certainly not day-to-day.
Right.
Boy, I can't think of anybody else, though. But, yeah, Mo's been around since 08. But he was with Walt, though, in the early run of the Cardinals behind the scenes, like in 01, 02, maybe even before then.
So Billy Beane, his run as GM ended in 2015.
Right.
So to your point about his role, he's the executive vice president of baseball operations and minority owner of the A's.
Yeah, I knew they gave him a piece.
Wow.
That piece is going to wind up being very nice as they move to Vegas.
Yeah, no kidding.
I feel like the Yankees and the Cardinals are somewhat in the same situation. Like, they just almost feel like they're stuck. And I wonder if it's because they've had such a long tenure of, GM, Pulbo,
I
those
think
type
that's fair.
of guys in the organization. Like, I feel like after a while you need some sort of shakeup. And I'm not saying, let's fire Mo. I know a lot of people are probably like, no, please say that.
Right. I think, though, if those guys are being honest with themselves, and majority of the time they wanted the best interest of the club to come first, they'll tell you that sometimes it is good to hear from a different voice. It is good that somebody has the final say outside of myself. Now, that doesn't mean that they don't have a say or give some input or guidance to that next person that's in that chair.
Yeah.
But I think things can get stale. It's a hard business. Things change. Maybe you're not seeing it through the lenses that you once did as a younger man. Those things change. And I do think that many of them are honest with themselves and say, you know what? Change of scenery for me, change of scenery for them. People need to hear a different voice.
Yeah.
And it's time for me to step back or move into a different role at the club or organization, whatever the case may be. And again, I'm not saying that's the case with Mo. I'm talking in generalities here, whether it's football, basketball, hockey, I don't care what it is. But
Tony used
sometimes
to say that.
Yeah, you just need to shake up a little bit, to Marsh's point, and a different voice. It's not necessarily the worst thing.
Sure, I agree with that. And Marsh, I think to your point about Brian Cashman and the Yankees and Mo with the Cardinals, I think fans become frustrated when they see the same thing over and over again. They have seen Mo struggle in free agency. They have seen this team be built in a similar manner. With Cashman, the Yankees fans are tired of watching the pitching staff constantly be the issue in the postseason. You have these, not this year, but offensively, they've had these juggernauts, and they have just never figured out the pitching.
And the amount of money that they spend, they expect massive returns every year. I mean, Giancarlo Stanton is not where he was a few years ago.
Right.
And you owe him a ton of money still. Judge was hurt for a good portion of this year. At one point, they had Harrison Bader batting cleanup. This is for the Yankees, man.
I know.
You know, with that kind of payroll, I mean, you're paying Garrett Cole a ton. He's been awesome this year. Could be the Cy Young Award winner in the American League, but
everybody, Luis Severino is having a horrific season.
Yes.
Domingo Germán had the no-hitter, but was, he's been bad, and now, he had his off-field stuff. You've got, Clark Schmidt, who BK thinks is the greatest, thing since sliced bread. I'm giving BK too much crap
BK
here.
going back
We're going back. Well, he
text in BK.
He buzzed the tower last night on Twitter, so I got to give him some crap.
399.
No, but Clark Schmidt.
Yo-ho.
Clark Schmidt has been pretty.
That's the morning show, isn't it?
It is
399. Yo-ho.
Yo-ho. Clark Schmidt's been good, but he's not. He shouldn't be your number 2.
How come you didn't jump in when I said yo-ho?
I had my thought about Clark Schmidt, so I was just going to.
He's too preoccupied with BK right now.
399-9646.
Or 96 yo-ho.
Yo-ho.
What do they say? 399 yo-ho?
Yeah. They all chime in, though.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
good.
So there are others that are struggling, like the Cardinals are this year. And
you're not alone. The Yankees still have a winning record, so
I know fans don't want to hear that. I think Mo deserves a hall pass on this one because he's had a hell of a track record. Whether you want to say it or not, it's been pretty darn good.
Dan, I'm going to do this for you.
All right, save me. We're running out of time in the segment.
We're going to break.
Yeah. All right, I'm moving on.
We're going to beat the streak and biggest question of the day. Next on 101 ESPN.
101 ESPN Sports Center.
I'm Andrew Marsh. It's time for a Sports Center update brought to you by Saliga Heating and Cooling. The Cards lose yesterday by a final score of 4-2 to the Tampa Bay Rays. They'll be back in action tonight. Dakota Hudson on the mound going up against Jalen Beeks. 5:40 first pitch. Tyler O'Neill was scratched once again from today's lineup. Dylan Carlson has been inserted into the lineup. We talked about Carlson and Tyler O'Neill earlier today. If you missed that or anything from today's show, make sure you go to 101ESPN.com or check out the 101 mobile app. You can find the full show there. It's all brought to you by Dobbs Tire and Auto Centers. We have Beat the Streak and Biggest Question of the Day coming up next. I'm Andrew Marsh, and the Sports Center update is brought to you by Saliga Heating and Cooling, the independent American Standard heating and air conditioning dealer.
I want to hit baseballs.
All of my successes depend on me.
You're ready to hit.
The hits just keep on coming.
And his first big league hit is a bullet up the middle.
Time to play Beat the Streak here in the Fast Lane on 101 ESPN, and we have a new contestant today. Unfortunately, our guy yesterday had, you even told me this earlier, Tommy Edman. That's right, Tommy Edman. But now we have John. John's our latest contestant for Beat the Streak. What's up, John?
Hey, what's going on? How you doing?
We're doing great, man. Thanks for playing. You ready to rock?
Yes, sir. I am ready.
All right, good man. Marsh, tell us about the latest streaks.
All right, so I'm at 2 right now.
Attaboy.
Stalter, you're at 1. Jamie is at 1. Dan will be filling in for Jamie, and now we have John.
Okay, so Marsh, who do you got today?
This is just the first hit, right?
No.
Just a hit.
A hit.
Yeah,
okay.
The first home run is what we do for the home run derby.
First, whatever, please.
I think I'm going to go with, I'm going to stick with Randy Arozarena. I think he got 2 hits last night, so I'll stick with the former Cardinal.
Randy A. I'm going to go with the guy that lasered one off of Miles Michaelis' hip on the first pitch yesterday. I'm going to go with Yandy Diaz.
May I go with the Cardinals?
You can go with the
At your own
Cardinals.
risk.
Absolutely, yeah. Oh, John, I like you.
What'd he say?
He goes, "That's your own risk." I like you, John.
What a shot. That's funny, though.
Well played, my friend. Yeah, you could go with the. You go with any Cardinal you want, kid. Go for it.
I'm going to go with Lars Nootbaar.
The Newt?
Newt,
Okay.
right off the bat.
All right, John, you're up.
Mr. McLaughlin took mine, but I will go with...
No, you know what? Go ahead and take him. If you want Newt, I'm going to go with somebody else.
Nope, go ahead and stick with him. I'll take a low of the Rays.
Okay,
Ooh,
there
I
you
like
go.
that, too.
All righty. Now, do you want...
Wait a minute. You took my Rays one, so you get Newt, I get low.
So there's a couple of different guys here with the Rays, though. So there's Brandon Lau, and then there's Josh Lowe. Do you want Brandon Lau, or do you want Josh Lowe?
Ooh, give me Brandon Lau. Isn't he the one that went 3 for 3 last night?
Yes,
Yes,
so
sir.
I was about to say Brandon Lau's on. You know, he's the one that can catch fire here. So, do you want Brandon
Yes, sir.
Lau? Okay, you got
Yes,
it.
sir.
Okay. I mean, the spellings are the same, but I just want to make sure that we're not, John, we're not, stealing something from you. So, all right.
Fair enough.
We appreciate you playing and listening, and hopefully we'll talk to you tomorrow.
Thanks so much.
Excellent. All right, there you go. Thank you. That's John. So, Marsh, you took Randy Arozarena. I took Yandy Diaz. Dan, you took Newt, and John took Brandon Lau. That's your Beat the Streak for today.
Is it hard for you guys to see old Randy A doing his thing still, or are you over it?
I mean,
over
it is what it is, right?
But, yeah, I mean, it is what it is.
I'm over it.
Yeah,
I'm over it. The Dodgers traded Yordan Alvarez for a reliever at one point.
Yeah, but they're still good, though. You know?
We're just talking about trades, though, Marsh. That's a worse trade than that. You're talking about Yordan Alvarez.
Pretty bad, yeah.
Yeah.
Come on. Anyways, I'm over it.
It's time for the Fast Lane's biggest question of the day.
All right, we were talking earlier today. We actually started the show off talking about Johnny Manziel. We got a question from Liam. Liam wants to know which athlete will go down in sports lore as the greatest one-hit wonder.
Ooh, that's a good question.
Is it Johnny Manziel?
It might be Johnny Manziel.
Locally, maybe the great Bo Hart.
Yeah,
that was a good one-hit wonder.
Guy. I like Bo.
I did too. He's a great guy.
I've gotten a chance to meet him a couple of times now.
Very good guy. Man, that's a good question.
Jeremy Lin is the one that comes to mind right off the top.
That's a good one, too.
Linsanity.
You ever seen the, we're talking about documentaries. There's one on Jeremy Lin.
Is there?
He, I don't know, he put up 30 or 40 at the Garden on somebody and, was like unconscious and hitting everything. It was good. It was well done. Let me think of some other one-hit wonders. You don't have a lot of one-hit wonders in football, do you?
Maybe Peyton Hillis. I mean, he was literally, he had like, a good season, maybe 2, was on the cover
Browns,
of Madden, and then sort of tailed off.
Like one season, though?
Vince Young, maybe?
Vince Young's a good one. Tim Tebow.
There you go. He took him to a playoff game and won the playoff game.
I always love the Tim Tebow. Like when you hear from Tim Tebow backers, they are fierce.
Oh, yeah.
That he never got a shot. Look at his record, things like that. When you go back and watch those Broncos games, you talk about the things that needed to happen in those games just for the Broncos to still be in it in the fourth quarter for him to throw one pass and win it.
Yeah.
Did you ever see the SNL skit where it's the Broncos? It's the Broncos and Jason Sudeikis is, I think he's God. He walks into the Broncos locker room.
I haven't seen this.
It's good. I'll stop talking about it, but it is. I think it's really funny.
Getting into treacherous territory.
I know. I'll stop. So
we have some text.
I like Jason Sudeikis. Ted Lasso is fantastic. He's fantastic.
Yeah,
I think he's hilarious.
He is funny,
and he was very funny in that skit.
We have some text rolling in. We have Tyler O'Neill, which is very
Tyler
topical.
O'Neill is a great one.
Hazel Baker.
Jeremy
Hazelraker.
Mm-hmm.
We have...
And that was only like one spring training / April.
I think an opening day that year, he had a triple, and he was part of 3 consecutive pinch hit home runs. Hazel Baker, Aledmus Diaz, and I can't remember the other one. I remember it was down in Atlanta, if memory serves correct. So he was a part of some good moments, and at least initially.
Yeah, it was. Absolutely. I remember that.
We got Kent Bottenfield.
Oh, okay.
Kent Bottenfield had an all-star season, and then they packaged him and Adam Kennedy to go get Jim Edmonds.
Wow.
So they flipped him at his height. Pretty good deal.
Yeah, no kidding.
Pretty good deal.
Absolutely.
Pardon me if I'm not saying this name correctly. Hostetler of the Giants in 85. This is from the
Jim
618.
Hostetler.
Jeff Hostetler.
Jeff Hollish. Thank you. Jeff
and
Hostetler.
Nick Foles in 2017.
Nick Foles is a great one.
He was around forever, wasn't he?
Nick Foles is a great one. He had a great year with the Eagles initially under Chip Kelly
to the Super Bowl.
Well, I'm not even talking about that year. So before the Rams acquired
that was Foles, the reason why they traded for him.
He threw for like 26 touchdowns and 2 picks. Like, he had an incredible year. Rams trade for him. Not so great.
Mm-hmm.
Then he went back to Philly. Carson Wentz gets hurt in L.A., diving into the end zone, shreds his knee. Foles takes over. Horrendous in the final 2 regular season games. Does not play well in a divisional game against Atlanta, but the Eagles defense holds Matt Ryan and company to like 10 points. He had a great game against Minnesota in the NFC Championship game, and then an historic Super Bowl against the Patriots.
No, he was awesome that game.
Nick Foles' career.
But he didn't it seem like he was around for over a decade?
Yes.
I mean, he would just pop up randomly on teams. He's like, oh, the guy got hurt. Here's the backup, Nick Foles. You know him from boom, 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 boom.
Right. No, that's a good call.
Yeah, he was around
with the Chiefs for
a long time.
At least a season.
Was he with the Chiefs?
I think he was with Kansas City for a season.
Okay, you guys can answer me a question. I was in a debate the other day. Help me out with this. Chase Daniel?
Yes.
Still going?
Yes.
Yeah. Actually, Mizzou just tweeted out some pictures of him.
Who's he
I think
with?
he's in Columbia right now. I think he's still with the Chargers, is he not?
I think he's with the Chargers.
How much money has he made? How many snaps has he taken?
Oh, man. Millions would be the first question.
Like
35 million,
I think it was
40?
like 35, 45 in that range.
He's played in 74 games, 5 starts.
That's it.
5 starts in
How
his
many
career.
pass attempts?
He has attempted 273 passes. That
and
is
made
it.
$45 million or
Easily.
whatever.
Easily.
Good for him.
Good for him is right.
Wow.
What a career. And he just keeps going. Like, seriously, just, hey, if you're calling me, no problem.
Yeah.
Would like to be a backup somewhere. Chase Daniel. How about that?
It's amazing.
He has played for, just because I'm looking at it, Washington, the Saints for 3 years. So Washington for 1 year.
I think he won a ring with the Saints.
He was a Super Bowl champion in 2009 with the Saints. Good call. He was with the Chiefs for 2 years. Well, 13 to 15. He was an Eagle for a year. He went back to the Saints for a year. He was a Chicago Bear for 2 years.
I actually watched him play. I went to Soldier Field, and I think...
Was that the Thanksgiving game? I think he played. I think he started a Thanksgiving game 1 year.
He didn't start the game. It was because Mitch Trubisky ended up getting injured. But it was super early in the game. I think it was like first quarter. And Chase Daniel led those Bears to a victory over my Vikings.
Yeah, he did. Lions for a year, and he's been with the Chargers the last 2 years.
Somebody just texted in and said that he is a free agent.
Oh, maybe he is. Well, yeah, that would make sense. If he's in Columbia right now, you'd think
good call. Yeah.
he should be at training camp.
And I'm looking at it now. Yeah, Chargers 2022. And obviously we're in 2023. So thank you, text line, for clarifying.
We just didn't put the context clues together.
We totally didn't.
No.
We're not that bright. We went over that earlier.
We've established that.
Yeah. We'll also go over what you missed from today's show. Criticisms, compliments next on 101 ESPN. Well, if you missed anything from today's show, you can always download the podcast at 101ESPN.com or on your 101 ESPN mobile app. It's all brought to you by Dobbs Tire and Auto Centers. Dan McLaughlin filling in for Jamie Rivers today. Dan and I discussed a lot, including the Cardinals deciding to go with Miles Michaelis or take him out of the game last night, and whether or not they got to move away from kind of the modern era of handling pitchers, not only from a starting standpoint, but also from the specialized bullpen approach. Lionel Messi, we talked about not only how incredible he has been. Dan judged me for some of the things I said about...
No, the mics were off, though. Remember, we didn't have it for the audience to listen in.
That's right.
The mics were off. Some coarse language from you.
Yeah.
But that's okay. We overlooked that.
But I was passionate about
you really were.
Where I think American soccer needs to be.
I felt your passion.
Yeah.
And that was great. It came out, and I appreciate that. I really do.
Appreciate you, Dan. Thank you. Thanks
too,
for saying
buddy.
that. Yeah. So we talked about the greatest show on turf because Dan had an opportunity to interview Isaac Bruce and Torrey Holt at the Ascension Golf Classic. Ascension, excuse me.
Yep.
The Ascension Golf Classic. And Dan did a fantastic job interviewing both guys about their time in St. Louis. So we discussed not only the impact of the greatest show on turf, which many football fans here are aware of, but Dan asked me, I thought, a great question about, will we see that again? Do we see that in any offenses now? So Dan and I discussed that as well. Played Are You Sold? And also discussed which athlete will go down in sports lore as a one-hit wonder. Not to mention the most transformative athlete, too. So,
yeah.
Had a fun show. Dan,
it was great.
Dan, I love having you on the show. And you're going to be back tomorrow.
Yep, I'll be back tomorrow. We got Balloon Party, and 10 o'clock tomorrow, Jeremy Rutherford of The Athletic will be in studio. Then I'll be hosting, filling in on Friday for the Balloon Party at 10 a.m. And we'll have Tim Peel, longtime NHL ref.
Yeah.
He's going to come on in. And
I just met him not too long ago.
Great guy. Calls St. Louis home, and now out of the game, at least from that perspective. And call St. Louis home, and we'll get into, the little stories that he has. And he's got a bunch of stories, man. Bunch of stories.
About Jamie. I'm sure there's a lot of stories you can share about
Jamie. I'm not going to get into that.
You're a pro. You know what you're doing.
May take half the show, if not more. Jamie Rivers. Next thing you know, time check brought to you by Clarkson Jewelers. It's now 10:45.
Yeah. Here comes PK Ferrari up next. But Dan, always love doing the shows with you.
Too, buddy.
Always a lot of fun. The time goes by fast. So thank you for filling in today for Jamie.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Now here's Andrew Marsh with criticisms and compliments. And I thought, Marsh, you got the best compliment of the day.
Sure did.
Early on when a texter had said that they appreciated the fact that once BT left us high and dry, that Marsh has got more airtime, and Marsh is doing a tremendous job, which he is, and always does a great job behind the scenes, too.
Mm-hmm. Well, thank you. I did get a text from Marsh's burner. Marshy is the GOAT, so
no doubt
it was perfect for Marsh's burner.
Nice.
So I appreciate that. I want to give a compliment, and this is from all of us, to a former teammate who also likes to fill in from time to time, but Michelle Smallman, who's moving to national radio on the, not the opening drive, but the morning show, which will appear before the opening drive right here on 101 ESPN.
That's absolutely incredible. Michelle has worked so hard to, advance her career locally here, starting off as Bernie Miklasz. When I first met Michelle, I first met her as Bernie Miklasz's producer. I was I was coming in as a producer of the Fast Lane. I got to know Michelle from a producing standpoint, and then of course she was co-hosting with Bernie for a while. Of course, she did some co-hosting with Randy as well. A couple of times back and forth from Bristol. She went out there and was a producer for Ryan Russillo on the Ryan Russillo show. And it's just, I've heard, I'll be driving around on a weekend, Dan, and I'll hear her on Mad Dog Sports Radio or hear her on ESPN Radio, and she's a total pro. She works hard, and I think she's going to do a tremendous job. And I was thrilled to see that she got the morning show as part of the show with Chris Canty.
I am too. I mean, that's a long road that you just detailed to get to that point, and it's a great compliment to her and her talents to get to that point. And the ESPN radio show in the mornings, the one that is before the opening drive, that show is everywhere around the country. Mm-hmm. I mean, that is on hundreds of stations across the United States, and obviously you can get it on your phone in various places. But you know what? That's a daunting job. It's a huge job, and it's a well-deserved job. So good for her.
Absolutely.
Marshy, reading more texts about yourself?
No. I'm just. Well, actually, there was one. We got one from the 314. Marsh will always be Sunny D, which was very true. I don't know if you know that story, Dan.
Go ahead. We're running out of time, I think, but go ahead.
Running out of time. No. It was what was it during a Gauntlet? And I can't remember the exact question verbatim, but it was basically like, what is the vitamin was it in the sun or in orange juice?
Yes. What is the main vitamin in orange juice?
It's vitamin C. I said vitamin D because of Sunny Delight, which I thought was orange juice.
And vitamin D you get from the sun.
Exactly. Yeah. So I put the 2 and 2 together, like the fast lane would, and I said vitamin D. And obviously not the right answer.
That's okay. Hey, I can understand how you go one lane and then it's the next lane, and here we are in the fast lane.
Right. Good call. Yeah. And you're mixing up vitamin C and vitamin D.
Yeah, it happens.
It does. I've mixed up names before.
No.
Once a show.
Did you call me Jamie earlier?
No, but I did call Jeff Hostetler.
That's what it was.
Hostetler.
Maybe it's his brother.
That's, you should be docked and pay for that.
I probably should. Actually don't.
You only have 4 hours to fill every day.
There are some days when there's the texters will, they'll get on us about certain things. I'm like, 4 hours a day to fill. Give me a break.
It's a lot of talking, man.
It is.
We got a text from the 636. You mentioned the Greatest Show on Turf segment that we had earlier today. This texter said, loving this segment, gents. Thanks for having it.
Very cool.
Thank you for listening. Yeah, I always enjoy that too. And Dan, I enjoy looking at how offenses are built. Like Don Coryell is what Mike Martz based his offense on, but then he took some from Norv Turner.
Exactly.
And he did so much, right? But you look at some of the more successful offenses, Peyton Manning, Tom Brady, 2007 Patriots, the 2016 Falcons had the same number of points as the 2000 Rams. That offense was based on Joe Gibbs and Kyle Shanahan. I mean, I just love that part of it.
Bill Walsh came into the Rams locker room after they beat the 49ers. Remember, they had just gotten trounced by them, whether it was on the West Coast or early on in St. Louis. Right. Same old Rams. Ken Norton did that and all that good stuff. And he came in and said, after I think they put up a bunch of points, but it was the Super Bowl year early in the season. And he said, you guys are winning the Super Bowl. Told that to Vermeil. He goes, you're the best team in the league. You're going to win the Super Bowl. It's going to happen.
Bill Walsh is a genius.
And that's what made me think offense.
Many regards. For Dan McLaughlin and for Andrew Marsh, I'm Anthony Stalter. We appreciate you listening. Instant Replay's next. See you.